He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
and saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rise!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Tyler Harrison.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our new show of the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-hosts, Speedy Petey and Tyler Mothball Harrison. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. As you know, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can call the show at 631-672-3108 and check out our app by downloading our app by going to iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We have a great show lined up for you. In just a few moments, we will be talking to baseball editor-in-chief of, well, obviously, what is it called?
Baseball Prospectus.
Well, you spelt it wrong. Prospectus. Editor-in-chief Craig Goldstein. At 10 o'clock, we'll be talking to Fantasy Pros and Dynasty Nerds Fantasy football writer Garret Price. And we have a bunch of other guests that we're going to have on the show as well a little bit later in the show. So it's going to be a great show. Before we get into everything that's going on and we get Craig on the show, how was both of your Thanksgivings?
Thanksgiving itself was good. I got a lot of craziness with my brothers, and then my brother's girlfriend came over later too. My uncle was there too. Definitely a lot of craziness that happened at the Thanksgiving dinner for sure. My brother, Ryan and Aiden, my two brothers, actually were in charge of doing the turkey this year and ended up undercooking it. And then I told you the funny part of the turkey when my brother was on the insides of the turkey. There were some balls involved there, and my mother was cracking up. So
Speedy likes balls.
No, apparently apparently Aiden does.
So Aiden and obviously Speedy loves his balls. You know, nice meatballs. I made some Swedish meatballs for Thanksgiving, and somebody was invited for Thanksgiving and never showed up. Mr. Tyler Mothball Harrison was supposed to come, and he was stuck over his father's house. But how was your Thanksgiving?
It was all right. I got bit by a dog.
You got bit by a dog?
Yeah.
Well, that's why you should have came over my house. You wouldn't have
Actually,
been bitten by a dog.
No,
Maybe you were
bit
bitten
after
by
you
somebody
called.
else.
Well, that's probably why I didn't come here.
Well, obviously,
I don't know what would
mean,
have bit me if I came here.
well, maybe a wolf. Because maybe if you were bitten by a wolf, maybe you'll grow more hair on top of your head because you definitely need it. So maybe turning into a wolf.
I bet you thought of that one just randomly one night, like, oh, I got a werewolf joke down. I'll save that one forever. Okay. It's funny. Hey, Brittany, right? That's funny.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm sure you did think it was funny.
I mean, you probably thought it was funny too, but it's about you. So, of course, you wouldn't think it was funny. So, there you go.
I laugh at myself all the time. I don't know. You've had better.
I know, Speedy, you lost somebody very near and dear to you today. So why don't you give a shout out to your grandfather?
Yes, absolutely. So unfortunately, I found out the news this morning that my grandfather has passed away at 84 years old. One of the most powerful, one of the most influential, knowledgeable guys in my life. Really, an impact to the whole family. A guy that was a great man, very smart guy. He was an influence to many people in so many different fields too. He got every job pretty much imaginable. He was a football player. He was a professor at Suffolk Community College, and really just a great man, a great influence on my family, my father, and my aunts and uncles, and helped me make the man that I am today. And also when it comes to this network, I wouldn't be at this network without him either. Him and my grandmother welcoming me at any time, just like their son, and it really touched me a lot with the way that I learned so much about him, the fighter that he really is. He was in the Army in the Korean War. He wasn't on the front lines, but was still served in it, and again touched so many people there, touched so many people at Suffolk Community College, and just all around just was a kind, gentle, caring human being that no matter what circumstances, he was always a reliable guy, always prepared, always ready for everything, and always just one of the greatest and most powerful human beings you will ever meet.
So we want to give a shout out to Mr. Kloiber, obviously a very influential man who has been very spiritual, not only to our network, but everything that we've done over the last couple of years, and really has brought Speedy and has pushed Speedy to deliver the work that he has delivered as a broadcaster, as a writer, as a radio show host. So I want to give a shout out to the Kloiber family.
Yes. So this show in particular dedicated to him today.
Absolutely.
And every show going forward, you're Carl Albert Kloiber. You will be missed. One of the most powerful and one of my favorite guys. One of the best men you will ever meet.
So again, this show is dedicated to Speedy's grandfather. So why don't we get our first guest on the show and try to put a smile on your grandfather's face. We are now talking to Baseball Perspective Editor-in-Chief, Craig Goldstein. What's going on, Craig?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today? Well, not Petey. I apologize, Speedy. That my condolences.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Obviously. But otherwise, how are you guys doing?
Oh, we're good. I mean, I had a death to the family 2 weeks ago, too. My nephew.
Oh, my condolences.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been really, really hard the last couple of weeks, but we're here and we're trying to give the entertainment and the shows out there that we could possibly, the best shows that we could possibly give to the fans. So how are you? I'm guessing that you celebrate Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, what gave that away, right? I appreciate it. Thank you.
I mean,
I like to say it's, we're Jewish, but heavy on the ish. It's, but we celebrate, going well so far. Actually, I believe I was looking, I looked at your profile. You're from Long Island. My mom's from Long Island. So,
we're both, all of us are from Long Island. So
I didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah. So yes. She grew up in Roslyn.
All right. I know where Roslyn is, right by Queens. Absolutely. Yeah. Very Jewish area, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Go figure, right? No, everything's good here. I can say no deaths in my family of late, but fingers crossed that holds out. But hard to complain thus far.
Absolutely. So why don't we get into some baseball conversation? There's a couple of big moves, and it wasn't from the Yankees in the last couple of days. Obviously, Tyler was having a heart attack like the more that he is.
Don't even get me started on you and your Yankees.
Yeah, you and my Yankees. But anyways, it just shows you how dumb he is. But anyways, why don't we get into – you'll have your chance to speak. Be quiet.
Eventually.
All right, so why don't we get into the New York Mets? Your thoughts on the outfield additions that they've added, and obviously Max Scherzer signs a 3-year, $130 million contract. I think he was way overpaid, but that's just my opinion. What were your thoughts with the signings, and how do you think moving forward after the strike, the Mets could be moving into 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a seminal period for the Mets right now. They have. We've seen them for a year talk about how their owner is the richest in baseball. He has more wealth, personally than all of the other owners. He's worth $14 billion, something like that. They traded for Francisco Lindor. They signed him to the extension. Aside from that, it was hard to see kind of the fruits of his wallet, so to speak. This is where you're starting to see it. It sounds like he got burned by Steven Matz's agent, and he decided to go out and spend some money. And he brought in Starling Marte. I love Starling Marte. I think he always looks like the coolest guy on the baseball field. He's going to play center field in all likelihood for them. Got on base at the best rate of his career last year, had a career best stolen base rate. Does a lot of things you don't see guys do in the modern game as much right now. I think he's a contact hitter. He gets hit by a lot of pitches, gets on base that way, and then will steal second. I really like Starling Marte. Maybe they gave him an extra year, right? He's going to be 34 next year. He's 4-year contract. Maybe he got an extra year from them. It's just money to the richest guy in the league. So who cares? You got Mark Hanna. I'm a little more tepid on that. I really like him as a player. He's a really good, consistent guy. I think he can help the Mets. He had a hip injury in the second half of last year. Wasn't very good during the hip, playing through that. Depends which guy you're going to get there. Eduardo Escobar, he can stand at a few different positions on the dirt and hit lefties. That's fine. It wasn't big money. Obviously, Max Scherzer, that's the big name. $43 million a year. He's the best pitcher. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, even at 37 years old. He has won multiple Cy Youngs. He basically doesn't get hurt. I know he didn't pitch on schedule in the playoffs. I'm a Dodgers fan. I happen to think that was Dave Roberts' fault. That's not really Max Scherzer's fault. I don't really have a problem giving one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball huge money on a 3-year contract. I understand. Well, you say he's overpaid. Where's the overpayment coming? He's top 5 pitcher in baseball.
He's a top 5 pitcher in baseball. No question that he is, but he's 40. He's going to be 38 years old. Right. And yes, he's never been injured. Now he's going to come to New York. He's going to come to the Mets, who, by the way, every time they bring a player in, they get hurt. Sure. So I don't trust that you're paying a 38-year-old $43 million a year, the highest contract from any pitcher, any players making it in Major League history. No, I don't care how many Cy Youngs he's won. I don't care how many he's won one championship his whole career. And yes, I have this guy over here who's a diehard Yankee fan that's going to sit here and say they were crying the blues because the Yankees didn't do it. But the Yankees aren't stupid where you're going to go out and pay a pitcher that way, and then all of a sudden, halfway into the season, lose him for about a year and a half because, by the way, he tore his UCL or he tore his shoulder, and he's not the same big. Remember, it takes a longer time for a 38-year-old pitcher to heal than when you're 30 years old or when you're 27. So as good as he is, and as wealthy as their owner is, to give a pitcher $43 million at the age of 38 by the time the season starts, I don't know if it's a healthy move for a team that always fights injury year in and year out, the New York Mets.
Yeah. So the injury point on the Mets, they've earned that, right? They constantly say this guy is day-to-day and he misses, I don't know, if you're Jed Lowry, a year and a half.
Or
right.
DeGrom.
Or DeGrom, right? Well, DeGrom, analyzed himself. He kind of said, I'm not even dealing with the training staff. My elbow is what it is. But yeah, no, I hear you on that. The flip side is they're the Mets and they have to have someone pitch for them. Mm-hmm. So so when the guy's on the mound, they need someone who's going to be good. Mm-hmm. Right? Because they also traded for Jordan Yamamoto last year, depth guy. No one has to give a crap about Jordan Yamamoto, right? But he also got hurt. Okay, so if everyone gets hurt when they go to the Mets still need guys to throw pitches and they need guys to throw innings, right? So you might as well pay for someone who's going to be damn good when he's on the mound. Mm-hmm. So is my perspective. And as my point of Steve Cohen being rich and being willing to all of these owners are rich, but if they're willing to spend the money. The only cost to them on this is money is if they take up money that they're otherwise going to give to someone else. But they don't have money that they're otherwise going to give to someone else. They have $14 billion behind them, and they can give all the money to anyone that they want.
Greg, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think any other team would have given him $43 million a year? Honestly.
I think on different, on a shorter contract, yeah, maybe. I'm not
talking about this same contract. Do you think any other teams.
Well, no, I think that's why he took the Mets deal. He takes the most money.
And that's why I don't think the Yankees would have done it. I don't think the Boston Red Sox would have done it. I don't even think the Dodgers would have done it. And that's why he's not a Dodger. And he wanted to stay in LA like everybody has said that he was going to. So you can smack your mic and do whatever you want over there. Yeah, it works.
Am I allowed to actually talk at some point?
Anyways, but this is my thought.
I would just say 90% of the contracts that end up getting signed, no other team was going to do. That's how bidding works. The last person to make the offer pays the most because other people aren't willing to do it, right? So I mean it's true, but it's true of most of the contracts out there. You know what I mean? When you reach free agency.
So I want to ask more about the length because while the money could definitely be a stretch for $43 million, we've never seen it before. The length I like because, again, it's not something that you have to worry about because it's a durable pitcher. And also we're seeing now because it's more of a bullpen game, starting pitching. I mean, it still matters, but teams are being more creative with it. So these top pitchers outside of Garrett Cole with the Yankees recently are getting more shorter contracts. Do you think that's a trend that continues? Do you think there's other factors to it, maybe with the pending strike that could happen? What do you think are the biggest reasons for that?
Well, I think the biggest reason for the length of his contract is what Errol referred to. It's his age. I mean, he's 37 years old. He's going to be 38 next year. You're just not going to get a 5-7 year contract and something like that. We're seeing younger guys sign. Corey Seager, I know he's not a pitcher, but Corey Seager just signed a 10-year contract. Marcus Semien is 32, just signed a 7-year contract. Carlos Correa is going to get 10 or 12 years. Again, these are all hitters, I understand, but even the pitchers, Kevin Gossman got 5 years. Robbie Ray got 5 years. Those guys are going to get 5+ years. I do think it's hard. I mean, if you go back a few years, the Dodgers don't. Their front office policy is not to sign pitchers for more than 5 years. To go 6 years on any pitcher, it's a long-term outlay. But when you go shorter, you push the average annual value up. So if someone wanted to go to 4 years for Scherzer, he wouldn't have gotten 43. He might have gotten 40 a year, 38 a year, something like that. It's by spreading it out that you bring down the average annual value. When you shorten it, you push it up.
That's brilliant. That finally someone with common sense. That's why the AAV went up. You didn't give him 5 years, you gave him 3. So therefore, you're paying him 5 years and 3.
Ask your question.
Oh God, Jesus. So I'll address the Yankees side
Maybe
of this.
you show up to shows that there aren't guests, and maybe that would be different. But go ahead, ask your question.
I missed one show.
Talk before I skip you on that one.
Oh,
sorry,
I'm really
Bill.
afraid.
Sorry, Craig.
So anyway,
no problem.
The New York Yankees, by far the biggest loser in the offseason right now. They clearly need pitching depth. They missed out on Corey Knebel. They missed out on Robbie Ray. Obviously, Max Scherzer, we mentioned his name about 100 times already. Marcus Stroman signed today with the Cubs. Is there anyone left? Alex Cobb signed today with the Giants, so you can't even get a decent second-tier guy now. Is there anyone out there, pitching-wise, the Yankees can look at and go, all right, we can plug you in as a 3, maybe even a low-end 2?
No, not really. I mean, there's really not. I think they are. Well, we'll see what they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up trying to address that via trade.
That's where
I think we all know Oakland is looking at tearing things down this year. I know the Yankees are interested in Matt Olson. I could see Sean Manaea being involved if they wanted to do, add multiple guys. Frankie Montas, probably they're willing to move at some point. We'll see what they end up, if anything ends up happening. But I would expect them to address that via trade. Luis Castillo, the Reds are supposedly listening on. You're not going to go back to Sonny Gray, even though he's been good since you left the Yankees.
No, I meant Sean Manaea will be Sonny Gray 2.0.
Oh, yeah, well, certainly, but it can't be worse than Andrew Hayden. Also, you're saying they haven't done anything. Joely Rodriguez doesn't get it done for you?
Oh, yeah. I'm
they signed Joely Rodriguez.
Dreams about him now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then they signed the minor league guy, the utility infielder last night. Yeah.
Yeah, very exciting. Hey, listen, they got rid of Tyler Wade. I know that was a burden off many Yankee
I don't want to hear his name. I know that hurts your feelings, but if you don't give me Hader, offseason is a complete failure.
You know what? Craig, you know what the problem is for Yankee fans like that one over there? Here's the problem with Yankee fans. They think by going out and spending money, it's going to win you championships. Now, besides the 2009 Yankee championship, the Yankees, the years that they were dominant in the 90s, they didn't buy their championship. They built around a core. They made important trades for Tino Martinez and Paul O'Neill, and they built their team around those specifics that made their team a dominant team. This guy wasn't really alive to really remember when they were a dominant team. So how would he know? Now, over the years, when the Yankees paid for Jason Giambi, even with Alex Rodriguez, they won one championship with Alex Rodriguez. So buying championships never work. It never worked for any team, and it still to this day never works. Now, you're going to say, well, the Dodgers, they made a move for Mookie Betts. They built their team. Their core of their team was already there. They had Bellinger there. They had their pitching staff. They had Clayton Kershaw there. They had a core of players. They just needed that one factor that was going to put them over the top, and that was Mookie Betts that put them there. The problem with Yankee fans, and I'm a Yankee fan, so this is coming from a Yankee fan, they cry about things. And they cry about because Brian Cashman didn't do this, Brian Cashman didn't do that. If Brian Cashman was a free agent this year, there would have been all 30 teams in the major leagues lining up ready to sign this man because he's the best GM in baseball. This guy, hold on.
Years.
It is not easy. Greg, you can tell him this. It is not easy to win a championship. And by the way, it's not easy to have 30 winning seasons in a row, which, by the way, the only team in sports history that's ever done that was the New York Yankees. So for Yankee fans to sit here and cry about the Mets bringing in Max Scherzer or Marte or any of these guys, Craig, it doesn't even matter. Whoever they bring in, they're going to bring. If you think Brian Cashman is going to sit on the offseason and think not to bring in a pitcher, well, you're sadly mistaken. You don't know who he is. He always finds.
They're waiting for Freddie Freeman.
He is. They are because Freddie Freeman is a guy. Well, it's a mistake. Now, Craig, you're hearing this from another stupid Yankee fan. Do you think?
Call me stupid because I don't like what you say.
Freddie Freeman is 29 years old, and he's the best. He's the best first baseman in baseball.
That's great.
Okay.
Then why did you trade
He's
for
a lefty.
Rizzo?
He's a lefty that hits for average, power, and he's a great defensive player.
Rizzo, did you not?
No. So what? They traded for Rizzo. They gave him nothing for him. Craig, please come in here and help me out.
I like the prospects that they gave up for Rizzo. I mean, it was fine. It was a fair trade, but they got a guy who, listen, when you ask why they trade for Rizzo, they got a guy who doesn't strike out and can hit for moderate power. Everyone that I know, all the Yankee fans that I know, complain that the team strikes out too much.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to add a little balance to the lineup and doing that. Freddie Freeman doesn't strike out that much. Freddie Freeman's much better than Anthony Rizzo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have him first. If he's not first, he's 1A, to anyone else at first base. What I've seen is that he wants 6 years, $180 million from Atlanta. If that's what he wants, I don't know why he hasn't signed with Atlanta right now. Why Atlanta's not having him sign pen to paper immediately. You just won a title with the guy. He's the face of your franchise, along with Ronald Acuna Jr. I'm a Dodgers fan. I know they have Max Muncy. I want them to sign Freddie Freeman in a heartbeat. Anyone should want Freddie Freeman. I don't know what problems. maybe he's not your kind of guy. Whatever, that's fine. He's an extremely good player. Anyone should want Freddie Freeman. But yeah, to your point about Brian Cashman, I agree. If he was not working for the Yankees, he would be the most desired front office free agent there was. I think working that market. Having the money is great. Knowing how to spend the money is a different thing. As you said, 30 consecutive winning seasons, that is literally unheard of. It's incredible. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And really, the baseball season, the regular season is the hard part. I don't want to say the playoffs are a crapshoot. You can build a team to succeed in the playoffs, right? But it's small series. You can't control everything, and there's a lot of variance in it. The regular season shows over a longer period of time how good or bad a team is. It's harder to be a fluke for 162 games than it is for, to get 11 wins in the playoffs. That's the bottom line. And so over 30 seasons, he's proved over the longer period of time that he knows how to build a winner. I do think you can buy championships, by the way. I have no problem with that.
Who was the last team that's bought a championship that's won besides the Dodgers, if that's what you want to say?
So, no, what I was going to say about the Dodgers, you said Clayton Kershaw. Obviously, he came up with the team, but he's on an extension. They're paying him $32 million. That's homegrown.
You're playing your homegrown. I'm talking about buying your players, bringing free agents over here and trying to buy a winning championship.
Trading doesn't count for that.
Well, I'm sorry?
Trades don't count for that.
Well, trades don't. You're
don't
giving away prospects. You're giving away players that could be on your team in the future for a guy that's a veteran that's going to help you win. No, buying players is like going out there and paying a Max Scherzer $43 million because he's a stud, and that you think that he's going to make you that much better and is going to help you win a championship. That's why Steve Cohen gave him that money, because he believes he's the secret of his hot sauce that's going to make the team that much better. But anyways, we are talking to Baseball Prospectus editor-in-chief Craig Goldstein. Craig, so we're going into this strike, and I think baseball is there's so many ifs this year. We don't know if this is going to be figured out. I know with the new CBA and with obviously Rob Manfred, let's be honest about Rob Manfred. He hasn't been a good commissioner. All right. I thought coming in, I thought he was going to change baseball for the better. He's made baseball that much worse. Okay. So I don't like what Manfred has done. He's going to be available to get rid of in 2024. Thank God. I'm sure a lot of people are probably waiting for Theo Epstein to take over baseball, but that's what a lot of people, and I think that's what he's trying to do. That's why he didn't take the Mets job. But what are your thoughts with the strike, some of the new rules, the DH possibly being added to the National League? What are your thoughts to this? And how about having an umpire that is, I don't know, a robot? That's a little interesting too with baseball and how baseball is completely transitioning right now.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I want to caution that it's a lockout and not a strike. And I know that it's not that big a difference to a lot of people, but there is only the players can strike, but this is the owners locking the players out, freezing roster movement, stuff like that. If it was up to the players, they wouldn't be doing that right now. And the owners don't have to do it, to be clear. They're going to do it at midnight tonight. They don't have to do it. They could keep negotiating and working on a new CBA like you're talking about with these various rule changes, and let teams proceed under the previous CBA, even though it's expired. But they're not going to do that. They're going to freeze all roster movement, so none of these signings can happen, or like guys like Seiya Suzuki from Japan can sign or be posted, that kind of thing. But in terms of the rule changes, I'd love to see a universal DH at this point. I'm a big National League fan. Aesthetically or philosophically, I like the idea of having one league be one way and the other way. I like that balance. The problem is it's not actually a balance. The NL is at a distinct disadvantage with their pitchers having to hit. And it's just, to me, it's not fun to watch them hit. They can't hit. They're horrible at it. Even Madison Bumgarner, who everyone says is the pitcher who can hit. It's not fun. The only pitcher who can hit is in the American League, and he's a designated hitter, right? That's Shohei Ohtani. He's the MVP. That's the only pitcher who can hit. The only one. Anyone else is like okay. Zach Greinke. It was nice to see him hit a couple singles in the World Series. Fine, but they're all bad, and it's just an automatic out. It's not. I mean, no one wants to watch a basketball player who can't shoot, right? That's not.
Shaquille O'Neal shooting foul shots. You have all these big men shooting foul shots.
Did we like Hack-a-Shaq? I mean, it was a strategy, but was it fun for anyone to watch? No, it was horrible.
Ben Simmons.
Simmons is going to get that.
No, I was going to say Simmons. Yeah. So yeah, I'm in favor of universal DH. I do think that will happen. I think the trade-off there in some capacity is going to be an expanded playoffs. I don't like that at all. I do think it'll happen. It's not the end of the world. But I think to some degree, the regular season, as I said, is the real proof of talent, and it's devalued already. And you're going to expand the playoffs and place more emphasis on something that is not a real proof of talent. It's look, I love the playoffs. It's the most exciting part of the year, but it's not necessarily proves who the best team is. Robo umps. I go back and forth on this. I think I don't think they're quite ready for prime time. is what I would say. There was a great article on The Ringer from Rob Arthur, and who writes for us as well, and Ben Lindbergh, who was a former editor-in-chief of BP. They did a lot of work on the automatic strike zone that's in the minor leagues and is in the Arizona Fall League. There are a lot of pitches straight down the middle that don't get called. Things aren't fully calibrated, and the idea is that you have an umpire who can overrule the automatic, the robot, the thing that's calling the balls and strikes. But if that's the case, you kind of just have an umpire. You know what I mean? And these guys are good. I actually wrote an article this year. I don't know what you think of the idea. I want to instead of necessarily going straight to robot umpires, I do think that's the future. I think they need to clean it up a little bit. I do think that's the future. I think we need to get rid of the strike zone box on the television.
I agree.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree.
I think it drives people nuts. I think it truly, like, something is this far, a quarter of an inch off the plate, and they say, "What are you doing? It's clearly a ball." You don't know that. If the box wasn't there, you wouldn't have had a problem with it, And I had people telling me those aren't the problems. It's when they're 5, 6, 7 inches off the plate. If you can't tell when something's 5, 6, 7 inches off the plate without the stupid box, I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, also the other thing too is they always never account for late movement either. I always get annoyed with that. So
absolutely.
So my question is, in terms of the contract and the money-based things with this potential strike, what the owners versus the players, again, the lockout is like you're saying with the freezing roster. So what do you think are the biggest stipulations with that in terms of what the players would want? We've seen them trying to fight for like earlier arbitration dates where they get the contracts. Obviously, some players already got paid early in their contract. We saw the Braves do it with Acuna and Albies. The Blue Jays did it.
Right.
Recently, the Rays just did it with Wander Franco. So is that going to be something that you think is going to be a main focal point when it comes to the money end of it? And what do you think the future of baseball contracts will look like?
That's a great question. I'll start with what the sticking point is between the owners and the players. The players, so like what you were saying before, is that how many teams have bought a championship of late are made up mostly of free agents. You don't see it that much because free agency is expensive. You have to have these guys on your roster you bring up that are cheap. The teams unilaterally control players for 6 or 7 years once they reach the majors. That's not counting their minor league time. That's once they reach the majors. The first 3 of those years, they unilaterally control their salary. They can pay them the league minimum. After that, it's arbitration, where they get raises, but it's not quite their free market value. So it's much cheaper to have these cost-controlled players. So the way that this sport has gone is you have all these really young, talented guys like Franco, guys like Acuna, guys like Cody Bellinger early in his career. When he's winning an MVP, he was being paid something under $1 million, basically. All that value is coming from these young players, these incredible rookies. And so what teams have done is focus on younger players, and they keep their payrolls down by doing it that way. They'll splurge occasionally for a Scherzer, for Starling Marte, for Corey Seager, whatever it may be. But the core of their team is going to be really talented young players that haven't hit the point where they're having to pay them a lot yet. Right. So what the PA wants to do, what the union wants to do, is shift some of that money downward towards the players who are actually producing the value on the field. And look, we've done studies. The share of production, wins above replacement, whatever you want to use, being made on the field is increasingly younger and younger. So what the union wants to do is put money in the hands of the guys that are producing the value. Get paid for what you do, basically. So they want to see, and I don't have this number from the union or anything, but something like double, triple, quadruple the minimum salary. And if it means they don't want to give up money from the top end guys like Scherzer, but if it means doing that, they might be willing to make some level of trade-off if it means younger guys are going to get paid a little better. Because you talked about all those guys getting extensions early in their careers, Acuna, Franco, you can toss in Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez. Those 2 guys signed a contract before even playing a game. They signed 7 and 8 year contracts before playing in the majors. The only reason a team wants to do that is because they can think they can make a killing in terms of what the value those guys are going to provide versus what they're actually going to have to pay them. And if a player is making $2 million as a minimum, and again, I'm just making that up, $2 million instead of $500,000, they might be less inclined to take a deal like that because they know they're actually going to make decent money early on in their career. So that's a big, big deal for the players union.
So breaking news. Well, not really breaking. I think we all expected it, but Chris Taylor is going to stay a Dodger. 4 years, $60 million.
They did something. I'll take 4 years. What was it?
4 years, 60.
Okay, my guess was 464. So there you go.
There you go. Well, shalom. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we're talking about buying championships. The Texas Rangers have probably heard this conversation and said, well, screw all of you, because that's what we're trying to do. Spending almost $500 million in 24 hours. Simeon, Seager, and
John Gray.
Yes, John Gray. And Cole Calhoun. Why his name is relevant, I don't really know. But the Texas Rangers are very competition-based in the West now. The Oakland A's are going to be a pretty good team. Why they want to trade Matt Olson, I don't really know. The A's, obviously, the Angels are going to get Mike Trout back next year, the best player in baseball, and the reigning MVP. Do we think the Rangers have a shot to kind of get in the playoffs? Obviously, the Astros are still going to be there. Do we have them kind of hinging on playoff contingency here, or they just wasted a whole bunch of money?
I don't think it has to be either of those things, because I don't think they're I don't know that it's wasted yet, but I don't think they're close to competing right now. If you want to look at their lineup, they added 2 top-tier hitters in Semien and Seager. They now have 2 good hitters in their lineup. I saw someone post a potential lineup, and it just look. I mean, you mentioned Cole Calhoun. Cole Calhoun is fine. But they have, he was listed as their cleanup hitter. If Cole Calhoun is your cleanup hitter, no, you're not a good team. No, I mean, look, those 2 guys are really, really good. And I don't think the Texas Rangers are done. They talked about spending something like $100 million or increasing their budget $100 million. As you said, it was $500, but that's over time. They're talking about increasing their budget $100 million this offseason. I mentioned Seiya Suzuki from Japan. I think he's on their radar. I think they're going to add another outfielder. I don't think that's even going to be enough. But if you start looking forward to next year's free agency class, it's not nearly as good as this year's free agency class. So they might be buying a little bit ahead of time. They also have a very deep farm system. It's not top tier talent. It's not guys in the top 25 of our prospect list or anything like that. But some of them are about ready to show up. Outside of Jack Leiter, the recent number 2 overall pick, Al Leiter's son, extremely good. He's a top tier talent. He's a very, very good pitcher. But outside of him, it's not a bunch of top guys. It's not like Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert and Yoan Moncada with the White Sox when they're all young and coming up through the same team. But they do have guys who are going to hit the majors. I think they're going to be a little bit deeper, but I don't think 2022 is their year. And they're pitching. I mean, John Gray is okay. Dane Dunning they got from the White Sox. He's okay. They don't have the rest. The rest of their rotation is horrible. Their bullpen. I asked people in my world who are obsessed with baseball. I was on a show on Monday. I said, "Who can name the Rangers closer?" No one could do it. I didn't know until I looked it up.
Panarin, that's our closer.
It is. It's Joe Barlow, who nobody knows, and with decent reason. He's not a bad reliever, but he's not he shouldn't be your closer. You're not a playoff team, right? I mean, that's the reality. So I don't know that it's wasted. These are long-term contracts. You have multiple years which you can contend in the future, but it all depends on what they're going to do now, right? This is a start. It's an expensive start, but it's a start.
It's an expensive start, that's for sure. We are talking to Baseball Prospectus editor-in-chief Craig Goldstein. Now, Craig, last question for me. We talk about the big teams. You talk about the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, obviously now the New York Mets, all these top teams that are going to spend a lot of money and have spent a lot of money in the last couple of years. 2 teams right now that haven't made any moves, the Yankees and the Red Sox. Are you surprised right now? Obviously, not strike, the lockout is happening, and both teams really haven't made any moves. Or are you expecting both teams, as the lockout starts to move forward, for them to make their decisions on what they're going to do to their rosters and their team before the season starts?
I don't think the Red Sox are going to do a lot. They just signed Rich Hill for literally the 7th time in his career. He signed with the Boston Red. It's not a joke. 7 times he signed with one team in his career. They just brought him back. They signed Michael Wacha for 1 year, $7 million.
I don't look at those as
he's not good. No, I mean, I'm saying that's what they've done. It's not much. I think they're going to do stuff like that. And look, this was a team I didn't think was going to be very good last year. I had them as 4th in the AL East.
Right.
They made the playoffs. They hosted the Yankees. They were tied, but they hosted the Yankees in the wild card game. They were not that, they were 2 wins away from ultimately making the World Series.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean I can't criticize what Chaim Bloom and what they're doing in Boston. I think they should be doing more, but I think this is kind of what they're going to. They're trying to build out depth and create room for some of the guys that they have coming up.
Right.
I do think that they'll be in on Kyle Schwarber. I think he's very good. It was a good trade for them. Obviously, he hit really well. I think he's a good fit for them.
I heard the Yankees are also interested in Kyle.
Yeah, well, I mean, they should look. Everyone, they should be, as long as you can either play him in a bad left field. Like the Red Sox have a short left field, they're able to do that off the wall, or play him at DH. And he's a really good patient hitter. I think Yankee fans would probably go nuts if you had another strikeout prone guy who hits for power and takes walks and that kind of thing. So I think he's a good player, but you might have too many of those exact types of guys in one lineup.
Right.
I don't know how Yankee fans are going to react to what I have to say here, but I think they're going to sign Carlos Correa. I think that's where that's going. I know everyone hates him because of the as well they should, because of the cheating scandal. He is built for that market. I think he is I know there's discussion about what whether clutch exists, whatever. If it exists, he's it. He's 27. He can play a legitimate shortstop. If the Yankees end up with this offseason signing Andrelton Simmons or trading for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, as was a rumor recently, if you're trading for the Rangers castoffs, well, they're signing Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. Look, as I said, I admire Brian Cashman greatly. That's a mess up.
Right.
That's a mess up.
And we think that the Yankees are going to make one big move. I think they will. It's either Correa or Freeman. I think it's either one or the other. They're just going to have to decide which one
the
they want.
trade. I think they might go with Oakland.
Yeah.
I think they might try and bring in Matt Olson, someone like that, who's a very good hitter too. He cut his strikeout rate dramatically last year, and had a phenomenal year at first base. Lefties would hit that right field outfield for the Yankees. It would be, almost unfair the way that he swings and his pull power. But yeah, I think it's going to be Correa. Maybe it's Freeman. I think it's going to be one of those guys. I think the reason I like Correa is I like the right-handed power for them. I like his ability to actually be a shortstop. Look, I know that they have the Anthony Volpe, he's very good. And they just drafted another shortstop in Trey Sweeney. I know that they like these guys a lot. We're going to rate Volpe very highly. That's all well and good, but you have 2022 to care about. And if Volpe needs to play second base, if Correa needs to play third, they can do that. They can figure, too many good players is not really a problem, but if it is, it's a good problem to have. I don't think you really worry about that right now. You go get Carlos Correa and you improve your team dramatically.
So speaking of too many good players, your team, the Dodgers, obviously losing Max Scherzer and Corey Seager, but it's still loaded, still the best team in baseball on paper. So do you think they have, you think they're trying to shed salary more? They were over the luxury tax last year, but I think by 30-something million. And do you think this is a year where they still could go after somebody big, or is it just small moves this year and try to get under the luxury tax?
Yeah, the Chris Taylor signing, I don't think that's small money. And obviously he was part of their team last year. I think he's an important part because the reason that they've been the best team in baseball is they've had an insane amount of depth. What I was talking about with Chaim Bloom in Boston, what they're trying to do. It's what the Yankees do too. When they had, I know a lot of those guys fell off the next year, but when they had Mike Tauchman and Cameron Maybin, all these guys step up and step in and be good. The Dodgers have a version of that. They had Kike Hernandez doing that. They had Chris Taylor doing that. It's not necessarily a fixed position, but they plug in and play all over. They let other guys get rest, or if they get hurt, they can extend for a while. They've lost a lot of that depth over the last couple of years. The rotation, they need to sign Clayton Kershaw. As a fan, I think you have to do it. I understand that he's going to get hurt. I understand he's not going to throw 200 innings. When he does pitch, he's very good. He's the face of it's a little bit like the Freddie Freeman thing. What are we doing here? This is the face of the franchise, and he's good when he plays. I think they're running out of big names to go get. I've seen rumored interest on Freddie Freeman. I think that would be a great decision. I think they can afford to do it. I think some of what's causing them a problem is Trevor Bauer is sitting there. He's on administrative leave. We're going to see if he gets what the suspension is going to be. I don't think he pitches for the Dodgers ever again. The question is if he gets suspended, they get that money back. If they just opt not to play him, they don't get it back. And so that's going to depend on, that's going to impact how, because he's making $42 million next year. It's going to make a difference on what you're paying people. So they might be waiting on some level for some resolution there.
You actually kind of just segued into my question perfectly, so I'm glad we're synced here. So Trevor Bauer obviously is a big name that could be traded, right? We'll say that's fair to say.
Could be, sure.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's trading for him, but sure.
No, but I'm sure if the Dodgers have to pay him, then the team will say, we'll take half the payment and give us, the suspension for whatever. But anyway, what market or what tree leaves are you hearing of the next big name to get traded? I think it's going to be Hader, personally. But what's the next big guy that everyone's going to go, that's the guy that the team's going to have to trade now?
Yeah, I mean, it's the name I've been saying over and over. I think it's going to be Matt Olson. I like the A's are they're like actively antagonizing their fan base in the city that they play for. They're talking about moving to Las Vegas. I think they're just absolutely. I mean, look, Marcus Semien, he just got $175 million over 7 years. He was with the A's. He was basically an MVP quality guy in 2019. He fell off in 2020. They basically said bye. They gave him a $12 million. They didn't even qualify and offer him. They gave him a $12 million offer. The Blue Jays signed him for 18, and then he goes and has an MVP quality season. I know you're not winning the MVP with Shohei Ohtani, but he was that level of player.
And
the A's are
Guerrero too.
What's that? And Vladimir Guerrero. Right. I mean, they had two MVP quality guys. Look, only one guy can win it, but he was up there with them. And then he gets $175 million. The A's are they're not willing to pay these guys what they're worth. And Olsen is in arbitration. He had, I don't know, look up his numbers. They're monster numbers. They're better than you think they are right now. That's what I'm going to tell you about Matt Olsen. And he's going to bring them a haul. Someone will pay up in prospects for them. And by the way, if you're the Yankees potentially trading for Matt Olsen, maybe you sign Carlos Correa and trade for Matt Olsen and trade Trey Sweeney or Anthony Volpe or one of your many infield. The Yankees have a deep farm system. They can trade a couple of those guys and not be barren, in the farm system, something like that.
I don't think they're going to trade Volpe. I think
I don't think they will. Yeah. But I'm saying you could do that, and you'd make your team a lot better in 2022. Now there's long term to think about. I'm not saying it's the only way to do things, but you could do that.
I think the two players that I think are untouchable right now in their farm system is Volpe and Dominguez. I think those are the two guys that I think the Yankees, Dominguez, who everybody believes is going to be a 5-tool player, a Manny Ramirez type of power player. Yeah, I know, but he's a switch hitter. He can hit the power, and for a guy that can hit and play and be a 5-tool player and he's a switch hitter, there are not many in the league like that. So he's a physical freak. If you've seen video of him, he's huge. Mm-hmm. He's a big guy. And he flies. He's really fast for how big he is. I think some of his legend has kind of preceded him a little bit. It doesn't mean he can't get there. But right now, he's not like the number one prospect in baseball or anything, which was how people talked about him originally. But that's okay. It takes a long time when you sign at 16 and you debut at, even at 19, 20. There's years go by for these guys to figure things out. So Mike Trout, and we know what
exactly.
Exactly we know what Mike Trout is.
That's exactly right.
And I don't know if that's Dominguez, and I'm not saying he's Mike Trout.
No, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he does when he got, because I thought Florial was going to be a good player, and he got hurt, and he's just not. I just don't know what happened to this kid that everybody thought as a prospect he's a 5-tool player and he could play the game, and then he tore. I forget what he tore. He tore something in his leg, and he hasn't been the same player. And unfortunately, the Yankees are now probably looking to push him out of the farm system. So
maybe he's someone who goes in a trade. Exactly. Those are guys other teams are willing to take a chance on, see if they can adjust something and get something out of those guys.
But we would love to get you on again because I think first of all, your information, the quality of information that you've given us is ridiculous, and I'm definitely, Speedy was telling me about Baseball Prospectus, and he's been following you guys for years. He's a huge fan of what you guys write over there. And
my brother and I actually had the books, like the paperback books from Baseball Prospectus from back in like 07 or something like that, right before the one of those, back from I think the 2007 season, I believe.
I think it's unbelievable what you guys do, and we really appreciate you joining us. And Speedy will be reaching out to you as this close out, or whatever they call haul out, strike, lockout, whatever they call it now with baseball. Whenever whenever it opens up again, we would love to know your perspective as the season and the spring training starts. So we'll definitely keep you linked in and definitely get you on the show again.
Would love to do it. Had a great time, guys.
Absolutely. As you guys know, we were just talking to Baseball Prospectus editor-in-chief Craig Goldstein. Craig, tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
I'm at CD Goldstein on Twitter. That's really where I am. BaseballProspectus.com if you want to check out the site.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be checking it out now because Speedy's like, as soon as he got you on a show, he's like, oh, man, I'm a big fan of the writing. So he
appreciate it.
Brought back memories. I remember I had the book. I remember the book. It was very elaborate. So
thanks, Craig.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Craig Goldstein, ladies and gentlemen. Great guy, as you can see. Knowledge in baseball is ridiculous. And hey, listen, there's a lot of things that he said that I would absolutely agree with, especially with the Yankees. I expect the Yankees to make a splash. I do believe the Yankees will decide on who they're going to go after. Is it Freddie Freeman? Is it Correa? Are they going to make a trade for Olsen? I don't believe Brian Cashman's going to sit out, especially with this lockout where he has time to make a decision on where he wants to go, where they're going to say, you know what? I'm not making a move. I'm just going to take this guy and that guy, fill in the possibilities of what these guys could be, and hopefully they have a good season. I don't see Brian Cashman doing that, especially with the Mets spending. And really, after watching the Red Sox and the Houston Astros go to the ALCS, and one of them actually went to the World Series. So I can't see Brian Cashman not making a big-time move where it puts the Yankees in some kind of perspective that they are a World Series contender. Because I still think with the team that they have and the roster that they have, they're still a big contender. They're a top 5 contender, top 4 contender. I don't think anybody can argue with the talent that the Yankees have that they're not. I understand Yankee fans are upset. I understand Yankee fans want to jump off a cliff. And when Max Scherzer signed with the Mets and said, ooh, they got a new little shiny tool to play with. I still think with what's going on in baseball and how baseball is going, and we saw last year, DJ LeMahieu signed a 6-year deal worth about $90 million. And DJ LeMahieu is one of the best hitters in baseball. Okay, he didn't have a good season. He wasn't healthy this year. But when healthy, who's going to argue that DJ LeMahieu is not one of the best hitters in baseball when he's won a batting title in the National League and the American League? And by the way, he's the first player to ever do that. So it shows you that with talent, you can win. The problem with the Yankees, I think, and Craig said it very easy. And the Yankees got a lot of power in their lineup. They don't hit for average. They need to find players that are going to hit for average. I think Freeman's a good player. I'm not a big Correa guy, but hey, listen, first of all, he's a superstar. He's still one of the best shortstops in baseball. Anybody that argues that is an idiot. He is. Is he worth 280, 300 million that he's been asking for? I don't think he's worth that. Is that what the Yankees are going to have to pay to get him? I don't see the Yankees giving him a 10-year deal. So if that's what he's asking for, like we saw Seager have, or we've seen some of these shortstops have, like the Lindors, I cannot see the Yankees giving Carlos Correa. And we've heard Brian Cashman say this numerous amount of times. I'm never giving another player a 10-year contract.
I guess there's a glimmer of hope with the Seager contract that he might get it, but yeah, probably not from the Yankees.
I don't think it's the Yankees. I think Freddie Freeman, 6 years, $180 million. That's more like the Yankees. That's where I believe the Yankees would absolutely agree to give a guy like Freddie Freeman a 6-year, $180 million guy. That's around the Yankees realm. That's where the Yankees wanted. Brian Cashman said, and I remember this 3 years ago when they interviewed Brian Cashman after the whole Robinson Cano incident, and obviously the Jacoby Ellsbury debacle when they gave him that extended contract from the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. He came out and said that he will never and he traded for Giancarlo Stanton. That was because he was handed Giancarlo Stanton, the MVP of the National League and one of the best power hitters in baseball. Okay. That doesn't happen overnight. And the fact that Derek Jeter did that was like really kissing the Yankees, saying, here you go, guys. Here's a chance to win. Okay. But, and by the way, remember when Errol said that Carlos Correa won't get $200 million? I didn't believe he was going to get $200 million, especially with last year with the contracts that these players were getting.
Jeff, you do have to admit, though, Seager getting that money was definitely shocking.
Shocking. And Springer got what, $130 million last year when he's one of the best center fielders in baseball.
And Seager, for a guy that's
why I didn't think he was going to get over $200 million. So Jeff, yes, I did say that, but the way baseball is working this offseason, obviously he's going to get over $200 million. But that's not because I was wrong or right about what I said. I looked at last year and the way the contracts were working. I didn't think that anybody was going to get another $300 million.
Jeff, I know you're trying to call back in a bit. We have another guest coming on at 10.
Yes, we have another guest, so you can call back right after our guest. Why don't we do that? When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking to Fantasy Pros and Dynasty Nerds fantasy football writer Garret Price here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, another show of the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-hosts, Speedy, Small Fry Petey, and Tyler, Morley Mall Paul, Mothball Harrison. Remember, you can call us at 631-672-3108. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app by going to iOS, WWSRN, or Android. Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Shout out to Baseball Prospectus Editor-in-Chief Craig Goldstein. He was awesome. And now we have our second guest of the show. We are now talking to Fantasy Pros and Dynasty Nerds fantasy football writer Garret Price. What's going on, Garret?
Not too much, guys. How are you doing?
Oh, well, we're not dancing. We got my co-host over here has a headache. He's trying to slowly but surely for the 3-hour show make it through the show. But I told him before we got you on, if you want an ibuprofen or Advil, I can get you one. He says no need for it. So, but anyways, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you start doing fantasy and really doing the things that you're doing with fantasy football?
Yeah, so I've been doing fantasy football from a writing, from a podcasting standpoint for about 3 years now. And, it was one of those situations where it was better to be lucky than good, honestly, more than anything. I was doing some writing for like my home league. We all have these home leagues we're in with our buddies and we trash talk. And then halfway through the season, half the people forget about the league and you know how those go. And so every week I was that dude that was like doing a write-up for the league and like just talking about what players I thought were going to do well, what teams were hot garbage, and all this kind of stuff. And one of my buddies came up to me and he's like, Garret, those write-ups you do, they're actually pretty good. Like, you should do it for people that care. It's like, okay. And I just so happened right at that same time, I was listening to a podcast, the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football podcast, which was the largest dynasty podcast out there. I was listening to it, and they were looking for some writers, and I was like, shoot, I'm going to apply. Let's see how it goes. And I applied. They liked the stuff. And it come to find out, I didn't even know it at the time. I only lived about an hour away from the guys that were doing the show, so they invited me to come do a guest spot. 3 years later, now I own part of the company. So it's crazy how these things go.
Well, it's a little that's a little crazy. You go from just being a writer to now being one of the owners. So
exactly,
money talks, baby. Money talks. So why don't we get into your Ohio State Buckeyes? Because Speedy Petey over here told me that you're a Buckeyes fan. And before we get into the NFL, I have to get into this, because all year I've been saying this is the year Michigan's going to knock off Ohio State. Everybody thought I was nuts. Now, all of a sudden, Michigan destroys Ohio State, and now all the excuses come out. Oh, Ohio State's not built for the cold. They're not built for the snow. They're not built for the bad weather. So what was your thoughts after this complete, utter craziness after Michigan knocks off, finally, the Ohio State Buckeyes for at least, I think, 10 years? I mean, it's been forever.
It's been a while.
Yes.
It's been a while. Yeah, so I do my best to be as unbiased as humanly possible, which is tough to do. You're a fan. You love your team. You root for your boys. But I try my best to be as impartial as possible. But really what happened was their defensive line dominated our offensive line. I mean, they were rushing the quarterback well. They were stopping the run. Travion Henderson, one of the best running backs in the country, wasn't hardly doing anything that game. And they were running the ball down our throat, and our linebackers just couldn't fill the holes, couldn't fill the gaps. It was just, it was more of this old school mentality, and they beat us up, which is embarrassing to say. I hate it. It ticked me off, but that's really what happened. So but as much as I was frustrated, as much as I was angered by this situation that happened, it's good for the Big Ten, and it's good for the rivalry, because anytime a rivalry becomes too one-sided, it's not as much fun anymore. You want that anybody could win at any time, any year. Right. So I think it's going to help breathe a little bit more life back into this great rivalry.
Look at the smile on Jim Harbaugh, by the way.
Can't stand that guy. Get your khaki pants out of here.
I loved his smile after they interviewed him. I've never seen a bigger smirk. It looked like he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, for him, it was. He was 0-5, so he needed that.
So do you think this particular game and also this particular season says more about Ohio State maybe being a little flawed in some areas? I always said their offensive line and their defensive line this year have been down from what they usually are. You mentioned Travion Henderson doing very well, and obviously they got the two great receivers with Olave and Wilson as well. But what do you think it was for Ohio State more, or do you think Michigan was just that good and maybe proved themselves to be better than a lot of people expected, especially after collapsing the way they did against Michigan State?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think Michigan is better than most people, including myself, gave them credit for. They have some legitimate defensive linemen. I mean, them boys can hunt. So I got to give credit where credit's due. They were better than I thought they were. But, anytime we have a young team overall too, our starting quarterback's a freshman, our starting running back's a freshman. We brought in some new linemen, it was just a younger team, and defensively, I think that's the biggest frustration of all of this is just defensively, we're nowhere near where we've been in the past where, we're producing, a bunch of first-round DBs. We're producing a bunch of first-round defensive linemen. We have and we just don't really have that on this team right now. There might be a couple freshmen that become that, but we don't have those junior and senior leaders that you just go to and you're like, these dudes are studs. They're going to step up in big games. And I think that was the difference.
So we're talking about Michigan and Ohio State. Obviously, their alumni list in the NFL is pages upon pages long. So obviously now we see Micah Parsons, who's probably going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year as well, who came in and took the Cowboys defense, which was awful last year, and catapulted them to now winning the NFC East. Is there a guy you're looking at in this NFL draft that might not be getting the spotlight that everyone should be looking at?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know that there's anybody that is out of the spotlight, but Thibodeau out of Oregon, I mean, he looks like he could be the real deal. He could really be one of those players, but I don't have anybody on the defensive side of the football anyway that I would say is like really under the radar that's going to turn out as well as somebody like a Micah Parsons, where, he's not even just a defensive rookie of the year candidate. I mean, he's a defensive player of the year candidate with how well he's playing. So I don't know that we have anybody quite that talented in this class, but there's definitely some good prospects and a lot of depth on the edge rushing side of the ball there.
We are talking to Fantasy Pros and Dynasty Nerds fantasy football writer Garret Price. So why don't we get into some NFL conversation? Obviously, we're here in New York. Let's get to the Giants first, then we'll get into the Giants, okay? Your thoughts to Dave Gettleman, obviously, the acquisitions he made in the offseason. Obviously, you've heard that Odell Beckham was available. Giant fans were jumping. Let's bring him back. Let's reunite him with this team. It didn't happen. He goes over there to the Rams. What are your thoughts to the Giants this offseason? Is Judge going to be looking for a job? Is Gettleman going to be looking for a job? Where do you see this team? And do you think Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the future of this organization?
There's a lot of good questions there. And that's been the tough part is it's been really difficult to gauge Daniel Jones because of all the injuries that they've had some offensive line issues. But then when you're talking about the skill position players, I mean, every week, Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley, like all of these guys are out. And so it's really tough to judge a young quarterback when he just hasn't had the pieces to do it. So, usually the transcendent guys can make it happen no matter what. So clearly he's not that. But is he an average to above average quarterback? It's still tough to say. But NFL, a lot of people say it stands for not for long. So you got to prove it or lose it. And I think we're at the point where I just don't know that he's done enough, whether it's entirely his fault or not. I don't know that he's done enough to really prove it. And so while I think that there's still a shot that he is the starter next year, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they draft a quarterback at some point in the first 2 days of the draft. This isn't the strongest quarterback class, but there are a lot of players with some upside here. But as far as going to Gettleman and things like that, I don't think he's done as terrible of a job as some people believe. He's actually brought in some decent talent. I'm not sold on Joe Judge. He's this old school, hard-nosed guy, and there are places for that in the league, but clearly there's something missing here because this is actually a pretty solid defense. And the offensive line is getting better, but things are just not jiving all the way. There's no cohesion. There's no excitement on this team. You can see some of those young teams that might not be very good, but you see the excitement and the passion and you see the upside of what it could be. You just don't feel that right now, that cohesion with the Giants. And I put a lot of that on the coaching. So as of right now, I think David Gettleman, could he be back? I think he could. I don't think he's been as bad as people think, but I'm probably out on Joe Judge.
So outside of probably Kyle Shanahan, the coach that everyone hates in the fantasy community the most is Jason Garrett. So now he's finally gone. So again, for this season, the remainder of the season, the fantasy playoffs obviously coming up. Now Freddie Kitchens, the Giants offensive coordinator. Do you think that maybe there are some players that benefit from that kind of scheme the most? We didn't really see it against the Eagles. They won 13-7, but it was with their defense. And also, what coach, if looking for a coach in the offseason, say Judge is gone, do you think would be the best to get the most out of these offensive players, especially if Jones is still there?
Yeah, those are good questions. So let's start with Freddie Kitchens. I'm familiar with Freddie Kitchens. He was the coach for the Browns for one season there. Freddie's a good guy. He's a good old boy. I don't think he's this offensive innovator, mastermind type guy. His history is with running backs. So this could be a slight boost maybe to Saquon Barkley. But I know that they've been tentative to really give him that full complement, that full workload, just because of all of the injuries and stuff like that. But at some point, you got to let stallions run, and the kid's a stallion. So I think with Freddie Kitchens, we might finally see Saquon Barkley really get back into this offense and get things moving. But what was your second question after that?
I would say in the offseason, say they do get rid of Judge and they clean house like the coaching staff. Is there, say Daniel Jones stays, or even if he doesn't, like, is there any one coach that you think would be a big boost to those offensive players?
Yeah, so there's a couple different guys that come to mind potentially as coaches or different coordinators and things like that. But I think the guy that's going to be the envy of most teams, and now I'm blanking. It's the Carolina offensive coordinator,
Joe Brady.
Yes, yeah, I think he's probably the one that's going to be coveted the most. I think those are, we saw what he did with LSU and Joe Burrow. He hasn't had the greatest success so far with Carolina, but they're another team so far that's been it's just been a nightmare as far as injuries. And Christian McCaffrey's played 10 games.
He's out for the season now.
He's done again. There've been quarterback issues and injuries, and just it's been tough. So I think Brady's probably the one. If I had to hand pick somebody, I think he would be the one that I would most likely say I would want to go after, because I think they need to get a young, fresh offensive mind. But if you're doing that, I think it's going to be similar to what we've seen with a lot of these coaches. I think he's going to want his guy. And so I think that probably does spell the end for Daniel Jones. And so they might be looking at a Sam Howell. They might be looking at a Desmond Ridder. They might be looking at a Willis from Liberty. So I think if that happens, Giants fans, unfortunately, are going to have to be ready for kind of that full turnover all over again.
I'm good with Ridder. I'm skeptical of the other ones right now.
Okay.
So we're doing a lot of talking about coaching, and you kind of hit a nail on the head before when you said that this team looks very blah. The Lions are 0-10, but they love Dan Campbell, and they play very hard for that man. So Mike Tomlin came out this week when Chase Claypool kind of came out and said the practices are too hard. They need to be more fun. And Mike Tomlin basically told him to go put that idea where the sun doesn't shine. He's going to run the team his way. And being that a lot of these coaches are very nose to the grind, very hard. Belichick is not soft.
No.
Mike Tomlin's not a soft guy either. There's a lot of, most of them are very edgy and very, I'm going to run the team my way. Joe Judge is a guy that runs that philosophy as well. Do you think that there needs to be this more Matt LaFleur, Matt Rule type of coaching where they're just very, Pete Carroll's kind of a prime example of it. Let the players play and let their emotions speak for themselves. Is that where the NFL is headed?
I think it is trending that way more than we've seen in the past, where you're right. We've had a lot more of the old school, John Gruden would have fallen in line with the Bill Belichick's of the world, a just hardcore guy that is going to do things his way. But I think the biggest thing, more than anything else, is sometimes I think you see these coaches try to be something they're not. So these guys that aren't these hardcore guys, these nose to the grindstone type guys, that they try to be tough. They try to be these, and the opposite guys that is their style, that is their philosophy, but they feel like they have to lighten up to cater to today's, just be the type of coach that you're going to be. And I think players are going to respect it. I played high school football. I played college football. Growing up playing sports, you could tell the coaches that actually believed what they were saying. You could tell the coaches that actually were confident in what they were doing. And I think that's a huge thing. I think trying to fit a certain style or a certain mold that you think you need to fit into, that's not going to last for long. So I think the biggest thing is just find a coach that truly believes in who he is and is going to mesh with the personnel that you want on your team. If you want a hard-nosed, hardcore type of team, then that's the coach you go for. If you want more a young, fun, light, high energy, then go for that. But I think you have to fully embrace whatever that is.
We are talking to Fantasy Pros, Dynasty Nerds, fantasy football writer Garret Price. Garret, let's go on to the other New York team. And a lot of Jet fans are questioning the draft, bringing in, obviously not the draft, the whole draft, because the draft looks pretty damn good, but the quarterback. And I am a Jet fan, and a lot of people, after the first year, and we've talked to a lot of analysts. We have had a lot of writers come on the show and say, the Shanahan offense, it usually takes 2 years to figure out because it's a very hard offense to learn, especially as a rookie quarterback. When you look at Zach Wilson, and obviously the Jets have, right now, if the season were to end, the Jets have the 4 and the 5 pick. The Giants have 6 and the 7, which is unheard of to have a top both New York teams have 4 of the top 10 picks.
And I think the Eagles
in the
have
first
2
round.
as
Yeah,
well. on
the,
top
the
10.
Eagles have the next 2. You're right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. It's absolutely crazy. What are your thoughts to Zach Wilson? And do you really? A lot of people still think Zach Wilson's the guy. It's just going to take a little while to understand this offense. Do you think Zach Wilson is naturally the guy for this team?
So I've not been the biggest Zach Wilson guy, even coming out of college. And that's one of the things we do at Dynasty Nerds is we watch a lot of tape. Like we get really nerdy into watching tons and tons of tape of these guys in college. I thought he was a good quarterback. I think he had a lot of traits, but he didn't do anything spectacular. There was a lot of things he did well, but there wasn't that one thing that you were like, Lamar Jackson, fantastic athlete. Josh Allen, cannon for an arm, different play, super accurate. There was nothing that he had to like really truly hang his hat on. So a lot of good traits, nothing special or elite. So going into this season, I was hoping that he would get to go to a team where they were a little more established. Maybe he got to sit and watch a little bit, because he is a little bit of a younger guy. He hasn't had a crazy amount of starts. He's not this, 4-year quarterback that started as a true freshman or anything like that. So I was hoping that he would have a little bit more time, get a little bit more of an opportunity to learn. But, kind of like Trey Lance, but that hasn't transpired for him. They threw him to the Wolves right away.
Still early.
Yeah, a little early. So that being said, though, I think it is too early to say one way or another. You look at Peyton Manning's rookie season.
Right,
Peyton Manning, 20, he set the record for interceptions in a season. I mean, it was embarrassingly bad. So some of these guys do take some time to develop. And I actually overall really like what they're building. I think the Jets, I like Robert Saleh. I think he's a smart guy. I think he has some growing pains, some things to figure out as he goes. But you drafted Elijah Moore, who I think is an incredibly talented receiver. Thought that was a steal where they got him. Michael Carter, I think, is a good young scat back. And I think he can be an effective running back in this league. They've got some solid pieces on the offensive line. Beckham is he's awesome. So
he needs to start playing. I mean,
he's been hurt.
He's been hurt. And I think that's affected the growth of Zach Wilson because you don't have that left tackle that's going to protect you. Elijah Vera Tucker's turning. He looks like he's going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud. I really think at number 4 and 5, if Neal is sitting there at 4, I think you grab him up, you solidify that offensive line, you put Neal on the right side, and then you really put Zach Wilson in position to not fail and put him in position where he's going to have time to actually produce and get that ball where he needs to get it. So I think that's where they go. And then also that LSU corner who
Stingley,
yeah, who a lot of people believe might fall because of some of these teams that are sitting above them that are looking for particular positions. That is not Stingley is not going to be at that position where a lot of people are going to be looking. So the Giants could have a chance to get him. I mean, the Giants don't need corners. They don't.
Please.
And right now the Jets
take a pass rusher, please.
Right, and the Jets right now with the draft that they had in the second half of the draft. They've had a very good draft when it comes to the corner position too. So I think that Stingley could fall. I really think he could fall as good as he is. And Jeff, who's a big, he's a big, our big, I guess you could say college football guy. He says that Stingley is the best player in this draft by far. So
I would tend to agree. I think he is, I don't know if I'd say by far, but I do think he is the best player in this draft. It's just you rarely see a DB go that high, but he's got the raw ability is pretty ridiculous for that kid.
So I want to talk about the rookie quarterbacks in general, both this year and also next year too, when the class is supposed to be a little more, like you were saying, questionable, where maybe there's somebody that breaks out, but it's not obvious. And this year they were supposed to be more sure things. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be very good. Justin Fields, we were thinking that, and even Zach Wilson. A lot of people thought when they were rising were more of that kind of thing, but it hasn't happened that way this year. So from a dynasty perspective, what can you imagine this quarterback grouping to be for the young quarterbacks? Because we saw more instant impact the year before with Burrow and Herbert. So how do you judge that kind of thing when it comes to a fantasy perspective and also the upside potentially that these guys could have especially the 21 class? Because we know Mac Jones, he's great this year, but he kind of is what he is. And maybe do you see more upside with him? And then how much more upside with the other guys?
So Mac Jones is an interesting case. So sometimes we have to differentiate fantasy football and real football. Whereas even though the game of fantasy football is based off of real football, the way the scoring always works out doesn't mean that they are always good in both. So I would argue that Mac Jones right now is playing very good as an NFL quarterback. He's making a lot of good reads. He's running that offense very efficiently. He's doing what he's been asked to do, and he's leading that team to the playoffs right now. So from an NFL perspective, you're thrilled. But from a fantasy football perspective, he has no rushing upside. He's not running the football at all. You know, when it gets to the winter months, the Patriots run the football. They're not looking to throw the football much. And even at this point, as well as he's played fantasy football-wise on a points per game basis, he's behind Sam Darnold. He's behind Jimmy Garoppolo. He's behind Tyrod Taylor. So, you know, it's not like he's scoring a ridiculous amount of points. So that's the tough part, is he's a really good real-life quarterback. I just don't know how much is going to translate to fantasy. So when it comes to the other quarterbacks, then Trevor Lawrence has been, I think it's safe to say he's been disappointing this year. I mean, we're talking about one of the most highly regarded quarterbacks coming out maybe ever. I mean, we're talking Andrew Luck range, Peyton Manning range, or, you know, we really put this kid on a pedestal, and so far he's been meh at best. And that's probably being a little bit nice, honestly. So all of that being said, what's going on in Jacksonville right now is tough. You know, he got paired with a coach, and I'm familiar with Urban Meyer. Obviously, he was at Ohio State for a long time. And I think Urban Meyer's a great college football coach, but he's running that team like a college football team. There is a huge difference between how a college football team is run and how an NFL football team is run. And so I just don't think he was set up to succeed. And then even then, they're drafting guys like Travis Etienne in the first round, which
who's out for the season.
who's out for the season. That doesn't help at all. But, you know, get this guy some receivers to catch the football, or give him some offensive linemen to block for him. The last thing he needed was another running back, because they have James Robinson, who's already a very talented player in his own right. So they just didn't do a lot of things to set him up for great success. I still think the raw ability is just far too good for this kid for him to fail. I still would be buying. When it comes, let's go to Justin Fields now. I've been a big Justin Fields supporter, not just because I'm an Ohio State fan. I think the intangibles are really there. He was crazy accurate in college. Talking about one of the most accurate quarterbacks that we've seen coming out in a long time. But we also have the athletic ability. And so from a fantasy football perspective, this might end up being the opposite, you know, where he might not do quite as well in real life, but I think he's going to do very well for fantasy football just because of how fantastic of an athlete he is. All of those rushing yards really equate to a lot of fantasy football success. So it might actually be a little bit flipped from him and Mac Jones.
Kind of like a Jalen Hurts type case.
Exactly. Whereas Jalen Hurts, you're not like convinced that he's the guy for Philly.
I am.
Fantasy football.
I am.
You are?
Yeah. I am. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a good quarterback in this league. Again, it's still early for Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
I mean, this is his second full year, and you've seen some bright things about him. He's been special in certain things. And Zach Wilson, there is something special that I saw in Zach Wilson. He was the most accurate quarterback to come out of college football. So, I mean, his accuracy is phenomenal. The problem with Zach Wilson, I think, this year is the short passes. He's got to work on when he's in the pocket. He steps in the pocket. He makes those short passes. That's something that Mike White was doing, and that's something that obviously all the other quarterbacks are, Joe Flacco, and it works in that offense. If he learns how to do that in this offense, he will be successful. I think his ability of moving inside and out of the pocket, running both ways, he can make every throw. So I agree with you. I mean, but to say that he didn't have anything that was great about him, I think his accuracy, just like you were saying, Mac Jones too, accurate quarterback coming out of college. So two very accurate quarterbacks that are very solid stepping in the pocket and making those throws.
The reason I didn't give him elite measurables for accuracy, because you're right, on paper he did fantastic with that. You saw a lot of things in college where his tight ends and his receivers helped him out a little bit. And the coverage was just so much softer compared to what you're seeing in the SEC and the Big Ten. And so I think some of those throws that ended up being completed wouldn't have been completed at a bigger school. And so that's why I didn't give him the elite marks for him. The closest thing that I would say to elite, though, was he had some of the quickest hands and one of the quickest releases out of any of the quarterbacks in last year's class. And I think that was one thing that I did think that was pretty spectacular. There was somebody, and I'm trying to remember who it was, but they compared him to Omar Vizquel, the former shortstop of the Cleveland Indians. He just has really quick hands. And so it's an odd cross-sport comparison. But I do think that was something that I did think was pretty unique about Zach Wilson there. So, yeah, that's kind of my feelings on so far on this year's quarterback class.
Obviously, we're talking about rookie. By the way, why is everyone still shitting on Jimmy Garoppolo? Jimmy Garoppolo's played very well ever since he came back from injury, and the guy's a winner. Like, he might not be fancy, he might not have 5,000 yards, but the guy wins football games. It's the Patriot way. But anyway. I'm not a Patriots fan.
Yes, he is.
He was from the Patriots. It makes sense.
So, obviously, we're talking about rookie quarterbacks and young quarterbacks, but there are going to be veteran guys on the move. Garoppolo's name has been mentioned for like 2 years already about being moved. The Russell Wilson experience in Seattle looks like it's about to blow up with Pete Carroll.
Yes.
If Russell Wilson is to just say on the market per se, who's the team that's going to go out and get him?
I think there's a couple
put betting odds on it.
I would say the highest team to go get him would probably be the Denver Broncos. I think they are locked in to getting an elite quarterback this year. Whether it's him, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Deshaun Watson, I think they are trying to put all the pieces in place to do exactly what they did when they got Peyton Manning. I think that's what they're attempting to recreate right now. So I would say they are the highest likelihood to land either Russell Wilson or we'll say maybe Aaron Rodgers. But if it's not there, the Steelers are another interesting one. Russell Wilson doesn't fit stylistically super well with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think that they're another team that is going to try to prolong this window that they have right now by bringing in a quarterback to help sustain that team. Carolina is another team that obviously they're desperate for a quarterback, but they've already used some draft capital and they're paying all these quarterbacks right now. I mean, they're
paying up a second and a fourth. I can't see them trading away from leaving Sam Darnold yet.
Play right now, so.
I'm just saying, I can't see them giving up on Sam Darnold after a year, after giving up a second and a fourth. And it's going to be a high second and a high fourth to the Jets, where the Jets are going to be sitting very pretty. Now that they lost Christian McCaffrey, I think they're done. I think Carolina is done now that McCaffrey's out for the season. So I just don't. It doesn't make any sense. But go ahead.
No, you're good. You're right. That's the tough part. The part that they put them in because they were still paying Teddy this year. Now they're paying Cam and Darnold, so they have a lot of money locked up. But the other thing they do have though is they have a lot of talented players in that offense. And they have a very good defense. I mean, they went in all in on this defense this year. They were picking up free agents. The year before their draft was literally only on the defensive side of the football. That's all they did. And then they took J.C. Horn this year, who we haven't even gotten to see play yet from the Gamecocks there. So, at some point they gotta have somebody.
Horrible injury that he had this year. It really was. It
was sad to see. I think Carolina, though, if they were to go get somebody, tough part is they're going to have to give a boatload to do it. But Deshaun Watson would be the guy that would make a lot of sense going back to the Carolinas, going back to where he's from, playing in Clemson, and he would fit stylistically so well with what they're doing there. But taking it back to Russell Wilson, I think Denver is the most likely. I would say. Then after that, Pittsburgh is another possible candidate to get him. And then, there's this outside chance, we mentioned the Giants earlier. No. The Giants could decide to make a run at one of these quarterbacks if they don't think that Daniel Jones is the guy, if they decide to get a new coach. So I think they're a dark horse. I don't think they're one of the favorites, but I do think they're a dark horse to maybe take a look at one of these stars.
They're the only problem, and me and Speedy have been talking about, the only problem with the Giants is they're going to have to give up a lot. And the Giants aren't an organization that's going to trade away when they need so much right now in certain areas, especially offensively for this team, where they could just give up a couple of first-round draft picks for Russell Wilson, because that's what you're going to need. Chicago offered 3 first-round draft picks and possibly Khalil Mack to get Russell Wilson. The Giants are going to have to do the same to get him. So, to me, even though Russell Wilson's coming off an injury, and you could tell he's not 100%.
Oh, sure, he was holding that hand funky, on his release. You could tell he wasn't finishing his throws.
Not at all. I don't think he's 100%. And I by the way, we are talking to Fantasy Pros and Dynasty Nerds fantasy football writer Garret Price. The one thing I say about the Giants is they're not an organization that's going to say, you know what, screw this. We're going to trade away all these draft picks to get this guy because he's the guy. He's the missing piece that's going to take us to the promised land, even though their division is very
winnable.
It's winnable. It's definitely a winnable division. So but we see the growth of Dak Prescott and this Cowboy team. They're much better than we thought they were going to be.
I will say this about the Giants, though. The offensive line went from literally being one of the worst in the league. It's much improved. Andrew Thomas has looked much better than he did in his rookie campaign. And the weapons on paper look really good. And Kenny Golladay, Darius Slayton, Shepard, and Tony has looked fantastic out of the slot.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley, I mean, if you put a competent quarterback back there with a decent defense, I don't think it's as far away as it could be, as it is for some other teams. If you put a Russell Wilson, you put a Deshaun Watson, you put an Aaron Rodgers back there, that's a 10-11 win team right there.
Interesting.
So, in general, we were talking about different running backs getting hurt this year. It seems to be a debate in this fantasy community. Do they go with the running backs early, load up on them for the first 5 picks, or we've seen heard, and then the other way around, we've heard other extremes with the 0 running backs philosophy.
Sure.
What is your thoughts on that from both a dynasty perspective and also just in general, the landscape of the NFL, where it's going, where there are more running back platoons?
Yeah, so for dynasty purposes, and some of the listeners might not be familiar with the differences between dynasty and redraft, but basically your redraft league is what you do with your buddies every year. You guys get some beer, you guys hang out, eat pizza, and you draft a bunch of players in 15 rounds, and then you go home. That's a typical redraft league. You might do that in your office pool, things like that. Dynasty leagues, though, this is like where you take it to a whole nother level. It gets super nerdy. And basically you're like, I want to be like a general manager. General managers get the luxury of drafting all these players, constructing their teams. And then at the end of the year, they still have those players. They get to hold on to those guys and try to build around those stars. And that's kind of what dynasty is. You don't draft again next year. You keep the same team. You just draft rookies every year, or you trade and do free agency and stuff like that. So for those that aren't familiar, that's kind of the difference. Is it's much more with a long-term mindset in mind than just, I'm going to take, let's say it was Derrick Henry this year. Well, you might be a little more hesitant because he's 28 in dynasty, so you have to factor all of those things in. So going back to your question then, as far as the different ways to build your teams, for me, overall, what it comes down to more than anything is, and this is going to sound so cliche, so I apologize ahead of time, but it's truly best available. Like sometimes I think people get so caught up in, I got to have this many running backs, or I have to have this many. If I go through an entire dynasty draft and I don't take a single tight end, that's fine. I'll trade for one later for a guy that would have had higher value. So I think that's the hard part. So let's say it's a third round. Let's say we're in the third round. I've already taken 2 wide receivers. And I say to myself, Garrett, you don't need another wide receiver. You already got your 2 starting wide receivers. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a running back. You don't have a tight end. You need to take it. You need to take one of those positions. But I'm sitting there and a star is available. Let's say for some stupid reason, Deebo Samuel is available there in the 3rd round. With how amazing he's playing this year and how young he is. Yeah. Say Deebo Samuel's still there. Or I could say or I could just take a running back because there's not many left. I'll settle for Miles Sanders. That's the kind of thing that people will do because they got to get a running back. Well, if I draft Deebo Samuel and hold on to him and we get to the season, I can trade Deebo Samuel for a much better running back than Miles Sanders. I can trade him for Javonte Williams, or I could trade him for, you fill in the blank of who the player is. And so I think that's the thing that people make the biggest mistake on, is they draft so much for what they think they need, more so than just give me the best guys and then I'll make my moves from there.
Interesting. Are you up?
Yeah, you're up.
You're up.
Oh, all right. So there's a team in New York that no one ever talks about. The team that actually wins football games. The Buffalo Bills are, I thought, the best team in the AFC going into the season. And they proved it for about half the season, and now they've hit a brick wall, and I don't know what's going on in Buffalo. I thought they should have went and got Odell Beckham Jr. and put him on the other side of Stephon Diggs, but obviously that's not the concern here. Can they fix this offensive line and running game, or are they going to have to just hope this air game and defense can do it?
Yeah, I don't think they're fixing it this year. Matt Breida, I think, is the most talented back. He was a guy I really liked when he was playing in San Francisco. We're talking about just an absolute home run threat every time he touches the football. Crazy, crazy speed. His issue's just always been staying healthy. But when he's been on the field, he's been a dynamo. So I do like Matt Breida, but for the type of football that Buffalo's going to be playing, we're talking about cold weather. It's going to be, hard hitting game. Like, that's not typically where you're looking to build around speed. And so that's going to be the difficult part is, maybe if they have some playoff games in domes or something like that, that helps. But you really need that physical presence back there that can really tote the rock 20 times a game if you need him to. And for long-term for Josh Allen, you don't want Josh Allen to be your goal line back. You don't want him taking those kind of hits at the goal line every single week. That doesn't spell good success for your quarterback's health long-term. So what I think is going to happen is I think that they're going to do the best they can to piece it together this season. But I would be absolutely shocked if they don't take a running back in the first 3 rounds next year. I think they're going to try to address that position again, or maybe even try to go make a trade, look for a free agent. They've got to do something because they need somebody that can actually tote the rock 20 times a game and not look like Zach Moss does. That's really what they need. So that's the nice part about this class. Even though it's not a great running back class overall, there's a lot of talent to be had in like the late second, early third round. And they're all those prototypical size guys for the most part. There's a few that are a little undersized. But most of these guys, Isaiah Spiller, Zamir White, Breece Hall, like all of these guys are these 220, 225 pound, like physical, prototypical running backs. And so I would be shocked if we end day 2 of the draft this year and the Buffalo Bills don't have a new running back.
As you guys know, we are talking to Fantasy Pros and Dynasty Nerds fantasy football writer Garret Price. Last question for me. You're looking, this is the first year, prototypically, when you look at the NFC and the AFC, there isn't a defined team that you're going to say, that's the favorite. They don't have any weaknesses. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're winning the Super Bowl. They're coming out of the NFC. They're coming out of the AFC. If you right now look at the AFC and the NFC, and let me tell you something, it is so cliche, like you said, that everybody's so close together. It's just like there's nobody pulling away. I mean, Tampa last year, a lot of people thought they were going to pull away. Tampa is not a pull-away team. They've got weaknesses, especially in the defense, and what we've seen this year from what they didn't have last year. And offensively, they've had a lot of problems too in certain aspects, especially against some of the bad teams that they played and lost against. So when you look at the NFC and the AFC, who do you have right now? If you were to make a choice, who's going from the NFC and who's going from the AFC? Who do you have going to the Super Bowl?
It's such a good question. If I had to choose today, I'm leaning towards the Arizona Cardinals for the NFC. I like what they're building out there. Their offense is just dynamic. Their problem is they just can't seem to stay healthy. They got to get Kyler back out there. They got to get Nuke back out there. But this is a much improved defense from what they've had in the past. Different players are really, really stepping up. Budda Baker's one of the best safeties in the league. JJ Watt, unfortunately, they're missing him, but they still at least have that locker room presence of a guy like JJ Watt.
Young linebacker that they drafted that everybody loves at 16, by the way.
Isaiah Simmons?
Yeah. Not Isaiah.
Zaven Collins?
That's right.
Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, they got a good duo right there with those good young players. So, so I think that's a good team. If I had to pick one in the NFC as like the team to beat, that's probably where I'm going. The AFC is such a mess right now. I mean, I feel like every week there's a different favorite as far as they go. If I had to pick one right now, it would probably still be the Buffalo Bills, but I don't feel great about it. I think the Baltimore Ravens are a decent team, but it seems like every year Lamar Jackson seems to be figured out in the playoffs. They do everything to stop him. And then there's just not enough elsewhere. And I don't think that defense is as good as they've had in the past. Some of their other teams, the Titans were looking great, but they just keep getting hurt. You lose Derrick Henry, and then you lost Julio Jones. Now you've lost A.J. Brown, and there's just not enough weapons on offense to really keep it going. So, I think by default at this point, I'm going to say Buffalo Bills. But I don't feel great about any team over there right now.
All right, one bold fantasy prediction for the rest of the season, one bold NFL prediction, and a league winner that nobody's going to see coming.
Ooh, I like this. Okay, so one bold fantasy prediction for the rest of the season. Let's go with, if you've listened to Dynasty Nerds at all, you're going to know my feelings on this guy. But this is probably outside of the realm of even possibility. It's so bold. But I am a huge fan of Javonte Williams, the running back for the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to say he ends up taking over the job in Denver and ends up being the top 8 running back for the rest of the season, because they have a soft, like I'm talking like cotton soft, like clouds soft playoff schedule for the rest of the way for running back. So whoever gets the rock there is going to do well. So I'm going to say that. As far as NFL prediction goes, I'm going to say hot take for NFL. Let's say that the Pittsburgh Steelers do not win another game the rest of this season.
Nice.
That team is just hot garbage right now. And then for the league winner, a league winner that no one will see coming. That's an interesting one. Let's go with, you know what? This is a New York based show here, so let's keep it New York. Kadarius Toney breaks out the second half of the season and leads fantasy managers to titles all over the place.
Oh,
Don't say that, because I have him on my team and you just made me very happy. I picked him up on a whim too. I was just like, all right, let's see what he's got. Oh, wow. Thank you. And then you also, so I got a bet at work, right? These guys bet me that the Steelers would win 9 or plus games. It'd be above 500, right? Because Tomlin's never had a losing season.
Sure.
So I'm about to make $200. Anyway.
There we go.
Anyway, I know, right? It's the Steelers. So based on what you've seen this far, right? Obviously, there's a bunch of guys. Garoppolo, as we mentioned before. Carson Wentz has had an amazing comeback season that really doesn't get described enough because the Colts did flutter at the beginning of the year.
Totally agree.
Who's the guy this year that next year, because I already got his name in my head, next year will have this kind of, oh, okay, he's still got it year?
Ooh. You know what? I might have to go home for this one. I think I'm coming home for this one because everyone hates this guy right now. Like, even in my hometown, everyone hates this guy right now. But I don't think Baker's as bad as he's getting credit for. No. Baker Mayfield is crazy injured right now. I mean, his heel is jacked up. He tore his labrum. He's just trying to gut it out, which isn't
running him out of Cleveland now. So,
well, yeah, but that's why they haven't won anything in 40 years.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. It's frustrating how impatient fans are, because as a Cleveland football fan, we haven't had a competent quarterback in my lifetime watching football. You know, I'm 31 years old, right? So the first team that I remember is really the 99 Browns. That was when they came back, because I don't remember when they left. I was like 4, you know. So when I was 9 years old when they came back, right? I haven't had a competent quarterback that entire time.
I'm a Jets fan. I don't want to hear it. Stop crying.
Hey, you see in the Browns quarterback graveyard, he has a point.
I mean, seriously.
We're in a similar boat. We're in a similar boat because, you know, at least the one you point to is like, well, you know, at least we had Joe Namath, Broadway Joe Namath. Our guy's Bernie Kosar. We
not even a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. Joe Namath is not even a Hall of Famer. So please don't mention his name.
Okay? All that being said, I think Baker's a much better quarterback than he's getting credit for. There was a video on YouTube I watched about the similarities between Baker Mayfield and Drew Brees. And it was fascinating how much they have in common. Same type of thing where he got drafted by the Chargers as an undersized quarterback. Baker came in as an undersized quarterback. Both guys had a pretty good rookie year. Terrible sophomore campaign. Things were starting to look better. And as things were starting to look better, tore their labrum. Literally, Drew Brees tore his labrum, jacked up his shoulder. That was when they took Phillip Rivers, ended up that switch and all that stuff. So there's a lot of like parallels. The same year that they
Baker going to the Saints.
Don't say it. Don't say it. The same year that Drew Brees was drafted was the year that they drafted LaDainian Tomlinson in the second round. The year that we took Baker Mayfield, we took Nick Chubb in the second round. Like, there's like crazy amount of parallels. All that being said, I don't think he's ever going to be the quarterback Drew Brees is. Drew Brees is one of the all-time greats.
Yes.
But that being said, I think Baker, there's too much hate for Baker. He's better than people give him credit for.
Well, Garrett, we really appreciate you joining us. You are definitely very interesting. We'd love to get you back on again before the playoffs. Speedy, you heard me say that, so let's get Garrett on because I'd like to know your thoughts. And we're going to do the playoff picks because I had Tennessee in the beginning of the season. I didn't think Derrick Henry was going to get hurt. I had Tennessee going to the Super Bowl, and I had Green Bay. And I still think Green Bay could get there.
For sure.
I think their defense is really showing everybody. For the first time, I can honestly say Aaron Rodgers has a competent defense. So if that defense actually stays competent, I think Green Bay could go all the way to the Super Bowl and win. I think they have the ability and they have the weapons. Well, he is the weapon that can make the weapons work. So,
while we're on the topic of preseason Super Bowl picks, I apologize for jinxing your Browns. I had them in the Super Bowl.
Oh, no.
Yes, he did.
I had them losing to the Rams.
Yes, he did, by the way. And I told him he was out of his mind, but that was just I didn't. He thought because Cleveland with the acquisitions they made in the
thought they were so deep,
and they were so deep. We've seen this before. We've seen deep teams so many times, and somebody gets hurt, or an important piece gets hurt, or 2 or 3 important pieces get hurt, and it just never works. And I didn't think Cleveland was going to stay healthy this year, and I was right about that. And I still think Cleveland could be a borderline playoff team because the wild card is still open, but that's not saying much with what we've seen in the NFC. So, but I believe that if Cleveland plays Kansas City again in the playoffs, they beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that.
Yep.
So, because I really don't think Kansas City is any good.
I picked them last year too, and they almost won.
And by the way, all those Mahomes lovers that love him so much, now that you see that he has a poor certain offensive line in certain areas, there's holes in his offensive line and there's holes in their defense. Now you see what Mahomes could be when he's put under pressure and the team is not stacked. Like every other quarterback. So there's only a few quarterbacks like Tom Brady over the years, the Aaron Rodgers over the years, the Drew Breeses over the years. Even when Ben was at the prime of his career, Ben Roethlisberger too. He hid the deficiencies of his team. So and Peyton Manning, of course. So there are very few quarterbacks that can do that. And I don't think in the AFC there's any quite quarterback that sticks out to me that's going to hide most of the deficiencies. So that's why I think the AFC is going to be very, very close to the end. Watch out for the Chargers. And I've been saying that for all season long. Chargers get into the playoffs, they're scary good. And
my sleeper for the Super Bowl, if Chargers are yours, mine's the Colts, man. I think the Colts have a good defense.
Yes.
And Jonathan Taylor is a beast. Carson Wentz is underrated.
Yeah.
They could be sneaky.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Imagine Wentz wins his second Super Bowl ring. That'd be crazy.
Well, and finally he wins it for himself. He doesn't have
we'll see. There's no guarantees. He can still get hurt.
Jacob Eason, baby.
Jacob Eason, Super Bowl title. Here it comes.
You know what? People laugh about that, but I think if Jacob Eason ever got a shot to play, he'd be freaking good.
Yes.
He's always had the arm talent. He just was very raw.
There are some good, and like I said, you can't really quote yourself on guys like with Zach Wilson and some of the quarterbacks that were drafted this year. I think Justin Fields needs a little time. All these quarterbacks are going to need a little bit of time. I think as these quarterbacks grow in their positions and their offenses, you're going to see the difference in them because I think this was a very good quarterback class. I really still think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a good quarterback. I still think Zach. I still think Fields, and I've said this, Mac Jones. I've told everybody. Being that he was drafted by the New England Patriots, I thought he was going to be successful because Bill Belichick is going to make sure that he's successful. So that's why I think this quarterback, and I was never a Trey Lance fan. You watch Trey Lance, that was one of the worst trades the San Francisco 49ers can make. They didn't trust in Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that was a big mistake. And going after Trey Lance, who to me was really a flip of a coin. I not having a season last year, it tells me that they were really, and I think Shanahan could be on his way out after next year. So he might make it this year because his buddy Lynch is running the team. But next year, if he does it again from this year and fail the way they have, Trey Lance doesn't turn into anything. Bye-bye, Shanny boy, because I'm not a big fan of Shanahan.
Fantasy football Twitter will rejoice in that case, right, Garrett?
Garrett, I'm not
everybody hates Kyle Shanahan in fantasy football world.
Stop ruining all our running backs, you jerk.
And Brandon Ayuk.
He's the only coach in history as an offensive coordinator and as a coach in a Super Bowl when everything is working running the ball. All of a sudden, when you have a lead by almost double digits, hey, you know what? 5, 7, 8, or a fourth quarter, I'm going to stop running the ball. I'm going to just throw the ball and give the game away. He did it against the Patriots, and he did it against Kansas City when he should have won that Super Bowl. So that's all I could say about Kyle Shanahan. I think is, to me, one of the most overrated coaches in the NFL. Garrett, thank you for joining us. Tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Price. That's where I spend a majority of my time. Feel free to shoot me a DM, hit me up on there, start sit questions. I answer as many as I can. I miss some at times, but I'll definitely try to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Garrett. We are definitely going to get you on again. Speedy's definitely going to reach out to you. We really appreciate you joining us and giving us a little bit of time. Actually, a lot of time, almost an hour. It was great. It went so fast.
Absolutely. I had a blast, guys.
He was on for an hour.
I'm
great.
so sorry.
He was great.
I enjoyed it. Hey, and you pushed through, my man. It was like Michael Jordan's flu game. You're great.
Oh, you better. I am the Jordan of the show. That's very fitting.
Jordan.
That's very fitting.
He's the Steve Kerr of the show.
6-0.
He's the
I
Steve.
am 6-0.
6-0 to what? Yeah, 6-0. 6-0
Yet
of
to
nothing.
lose a debate I even knew I was having.
Debate? He's never won a debate. The guy's an idiot. Okay. Thank you, Garrett,
That's
for
what
joining
a sore
us.
loser would say.
That's all loser. I don't know what I'm losing. Garret Price, ladies and gentlemen. What dream world are you in?
The only thing I've ever lost is my hair.
Yeah, lost. You've lost a lot. So I don't know where you think that you've won an argument.
Something competent about the Yankees.
Competent about the Yankees? I said it already. The Yankees are not going to, and I'll say it again. Brian Cashman is not going to go in the offseason where he's not going to make a move that is going to make Yankee fans happy. It's just not going to be the moves that you wanted because Max Scherzer is not a Yankee because the Yankees didn't want to give him $43 million.
It had nothing to do
They
with
offered Justin Verlander $25 for 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted 2 years.
Another guy you said was a sure bona fide pinstriper.
I did. And he would have been, but the Yankees didn't want to give him a second year. And thank God they didn't because I think it's a big mistake. I think it's a big mistake. I do not believe Justin Verlander for the next 2 years is going to pitch on the top of the league, especially coming back from a UCL injury.
Say he was going to have like
1 year,
comeback year, and stuff
1 year, 1 year, and you pay a pitcher coming back, an old pitcher like that, coming back from an injury like that, year to year. You don't give him an extended amount of time.
You couldn't sign Corey Knebel. You couldn't go out there and try to get Raisel Iglesias.
Oh yeah, great pitches by the way. Great, absolutely great. Yeah, Corey Knebel. Yeah, he's great.
Corey Knebel's ERA last year was amazing.
Oh,
and he was great in Milwaukee.
Okay, so what? So we're looking at year to year, and we have seen pitchers. They pitch 1 good year, and then the next year,
been great his whole
and
career.
Milwaukee National League. You're going to bring them to the American League, East, which is the best division in baseball. Yeah, smart idea.
2.45 ERA last year.
Great,
So
great,
don't bring
great,
anybody here.
great.
So who would you bring in?
The Yankees are going to do what they think is the right thing to do.
So
the
by
right
your
move.
logic, you don't want Hader either.
You're
insane.
If it's going to cost too much, no, I'm not. I'm not trading away
the National League.
That's great. I'm not paying. First of all, I'm not going to pay a guy.
By the way, the National League West was a really good.
So you're
going to.
So you're going to pay Hader, who's probably going to want as a reliever and a closer because we saw Chapman get 19. He's probably going to want 23, 24. So you're going to pay a closer who's fairly young, 29 years old, right?
No,
he's
younger than that.
No,
He's like
how old
25.
is he? Find out how old he is.
25, 26.
Find out how
27.
old he is. 27 years old. You're going to pay Hader $25 million to pitch, every 3 days or every 2 days or whatever it is as a closer.
He can open for you if you need it. He can pitch 2 or 3 innings if you need it.
Yes, and you're going to have to trade away possibly 3 or 4 of your top 10 prospects.
But you'll do that for Matt Olson.
I don't think the Yankees are going to do that for Matt Olson. I don't see the Yankees doing that. I see the Yankees giving one top prospect and maybe a player on their roster right now, a Voit to somebody like that. I could see that. I can't see the Yankees just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna take my top 5 or top 10 prospects.
Tell me we're gonna get a catcher.
The Yankees have a catcher, and yes, I think the Yankees there's still a catcher that's on available right now.
Who?
What's his name again?
Perez.
Not Perez. The other one. There's another one that the Yankees. There was another catcher that the Yankees are interested
Sanchez
in.
is going to be your catcher next year.
They arbitrated him. I don't think so. They're going to trade him. I think they're going to trade him. I can't see the Yankees just letting him go. You're not going to let a guy with that kind of power, free agent, where he can go wherever he wants, where a team can pick him up, and he's going to give you 20 to 25. And I'll tell you a team that he would have probably went to if he became available. Teams like Milwaukee or one of those top teams that if you add a player of that magnitude of power, Milwaukee, yeah, teams like that. The Dodgers, another team that would absolutely look at Gary Sanchez. Why not? Because you
have Will Smith already.
That's fine.
Will Smith is a better catcher than Gary Sanchez.
Yeah,
he's younger and cheaper.
Does he have better power than Gary Sanchez?
Cares?
Do you see? That's
he's already there. He's already winning.
Fine. I'm just giving you top teams, you idiot. The Boston Red Sox, you idiot. They're another team that would be interested in Gary Sanchez.
Idiot. But meanwhile, guess what? All the teams you're mentioning are in better position than the Yankees are.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, God, yes.
Oh, okay. They're in better positions.
Yes, they are.
You do realize that the Yankees have been in the playoffs 7 out of the last 10 years.
And what have they done in those playoffs?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Did you not listen to Goldstein? Did you not listen to Craig and what he said? It's you play to play the season. To get in the playoffs, there's no guarantees in the playoffs. That's something that you don't understand because you never played sports. You don't know. I did. I was an elite hockey player. Okay. I played against the best hockey players in the country.
Numbnuts.
So numbnuts what? Have you played sports?
Yeah, I did.
What did you
I played
play?
travel lacrosse my whole career.
Travel lacrosse.
Hold on. I'll be honest with you.
Travel lacrosse.
I could have got a scholarship anywhere I wanted to. My depression made me quit sports. Yeah. You uncultured swine.
Right.
So
lacrosse?
Sit there.
Lacrosse? Oh, yeah.
Lacrosse? It's hockey on fucking field.
It's not hot.
It's
not
very
hockey.
similar for it.
No,
actually.
it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay, whatever. I'm not having a conversation with you.
You just said lacrosse is like
hockey. And you don't care.
That just shows you how stupid you really are.
That's all
dumb.
you say.
That's dumb. That's dumb.
Write down a show.
Lacrosse,
how many times he says the line,
here's where lacrosse.
How stupid you really are.
Lacrosse,
because there's no point in talking to you.
Lacrosse is more like soccer than it is hockey. Yes.
Soccer?
Soccer. Yes. Soccer. Yes. European football. Yes. Which is just, yes. You're playing on a field. You're running on a field.
I'm not talking to you about anything anymore.
That's fine.
So you can sit there.
That's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Errol Marks has been right his entire life. He is never wrong. He's yet to be wrong this offseason. Meanwhile, everything he said about the Yankees offseason was
just
wrong.
like you fought. You're
all
6-0.
his values were
just
wrong.
like you're 6-0 with your arguments, which is ridiculous.
Go ahead.
It's
tell
a joke.
Tell me what the Yankees are
going
to do.
I just told you what the Yankees are going to do. I already told you what the Yankees are going to do. He told you. Goldstein already told you. They're waiting, and they're going to decide either Correa or Freeman. That's what they're going to do. Whatever they do when it comes to really. And what makes you
back to a limb?
Really?
Yeah.
By
the way,
if
the
it was
Dodgers also want both of them.
Yeah,
you don't
that's
think
great.
the Dodgers are going to overpay for one of them?
So
actually,
wait a second.
I'll ask you, Grand Wizard. What are the Dodgers going to do?
What are the Dodgers? They're going to try to trade. They're going to try to sign Clayton Kershaw, which, by the way, they're going to, as Goldstein said, if you actually quote unquote listen to him, they're going to have to overpay. They're going to have to pay Clayton Kershaw because he is the face of the team. And by the way, they got a shortstop that they made a trade for, who, by the way, is a free agent next year, who they're going to have to extend as well. So
more reason to sign Carlos Correa.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. So it's just what you have said is stupid too. Because how could you say that? The only person they'd be interested in right now is Freeman, and the only team, what I've been reading, what I have read, the only two teams Freeman and what I've heard through different people is the only two teams he's interested in playing for is the Braves and the Yankees. So I don't think he's going to be a Dodger. Okay, so I think he's going to be a Brave. That's where I think he's going to be. But if the Braves keep holding out on this, and when this strike or whatever the hell it is over, and the Yankees are still sitting there pretty and he's available, yes, I think Freddie Freeman will be a Yankee. I absolutely believe it. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to starting pitching, the Yankees are going to add starting pitching via trade, a.k.a. what Craig Goldstein said on the show. If you listen to him, they're going to make a trade. That's what they're going to do. There's no free agents that are available that really stand out. There were not many of them this year. Who was it? There wasn't many.
Robbie Ray is better than everyone that's on the trade market right now.
Robbie Ray is still available.
Marcus Stroman is the same as
Robbie
everybody
Ray
on
is
this
still
market.
available.
No, he's not.
I don't think he signed with Seattle. Did he sign with Seattle?
Yeah, he signed
what
with
did he
Seattle.
sign on? How
5
much?
years, 115.
What is it?
5 years, 115.
I wouldn't have paid him 115. 5 years.
Alex
How
Cobb's
old
a
is he?
giant.
33.
Yeah, I think 32, 33.
I don't pay him that. I'm not giving him a 5-year deal. You're going to pay Robbie Ray 115 for 5 years? I wouldn't do that. He had a great year. No question that he did, but he's going to Seattle, and every single pitcher, aka a lot of Yankees, have gone to Seattle and have disappeared. One?
James Paxton.
One?
Who also, yeah,
one.
that's another thing.
Not
we talked
one.
about years ago
Paxton
about
went to the
James
Red
Paxton.
Sox.
It wasn't. It wasn't
Yeah,
one.
that was in Boston.
There was another one that came
Corey
from Seattle.
Kluber, you let go to Tampa Bay.
There was another one that came out from Seattle that went back to Seattle from the Yankees. You forget about Mr. Hard Throwing. What's his name again? Tall pitcher. Played for the Yankees. Couldn't stay healthy.
James Paxton.
No, not James Paxton. Another pitcher. Who was a top pitcher for like 2 years for them. The Yankees brought him in. Who's the guy?
For Seattle?
Seattle.
No, I don't know.
Yes, he was from the Yankees. Went from Seattle to the Yankees. Ex-Seattle Yankee pitchers. Speedy, who knows everything when it comes to adding his 2 cents, but he can't figure this out. I'm going to figure it out right now. What is his name? Michael Pineda. Okay, who came from Seattle and then went back to Seattle. Okay, so there were a lot of people. Jeff Nelson did the same thing. A lot of people.
You don't want to buy contracts, so Jeff Nelson was bought here via free agency. Mike Stanton, another huge part of that team, was brought in from free
Jeff
agency.
Nelson was actually at first traded. He came back to the Yankees when the Yankees let him go, and then they brought him in for free agency. They brought him back for free agency, and they didn't pay a lot for Jeff Nelson. Okay, Jeff
Graham
Nelson,
Lloyd, another guy the Yankees.
another trade. Graham Lloyd came from via trade. Graham Lloyd.
I'm sorry, you don't consider that buying.
No, it's not. It's trading. That's not buying a player.
You're right. I'm not arguing. You're right, and that's how the show will go. Sports Errol's Right should be the name of the show.
By the way, we have
Loudmouth.
Nathan arriving.
What's going on, Nathan?
Yo, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Nathan, you're on mute.
You're on mute. We got to get you off. Come on. You there?
Nathan, you there?
Nathan, do you hear us?
Oh, he might have froze. All right, Nathan, go out and back in.
No, he didn't freeze. Could you talk?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Put him up a little bit.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
What's up, Nathan?
It's been a while.
Yes. What would you like to talk about, bud?
Why not talk about this crazy free agency, right? With the lockout looming. Obviously, they said that there's gonna be a lockout, but they don't know what time tomorrow will be the lockout. John Heyman just tweeted.
It's actually tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, Craig said midnight tonight.
Yeah, midnight. Yeah,
I think it's midnight. I think this is going to last for 2 or 3 months. What is it? It's December now.
December 1st. Yeah.
I don't see us. I don't think there's a spring. I think obviously there will be a spring training. I don't think you see spring training until March. That's what I think. March or April. That's where I think it is. I don't see baseball starting on time. I think you're going to baseball's going to miss probably about 25, 30 games. That's where I think it's going to be. As 162 games in a season. I say baseball might say 110, 120. That's what I think where the season's going to be. And that's why Max Scherzer signed as quick as he did. Yeah. Because there was a lot of thoughts that Max Scherzer, there were stories coming out that he wanted to stay in L.A., and it wasn't the Dodgers. The LA Angels might have been interested in him. Right. But he wanted to make sure that he signed quick. So the Mets gave him the extended 3rd year, which is optional, where they could actually opt out of the contract in the 3rd year. So it could go either way. But I mean, the Mets and the Texas Rangers have made the most moves.
Yeah. To be honest, I think at first, obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, and all you guys are Yankee fans too, right? Obviously, Speedy.
I'm a Mets fan.
Speedy's a Mets fan.
I'm a Mets fan.
Oh, so you must be ecstatic with Max Scherzer then, right?
Well, again, it's static. Again, it's a lot of money, so we'll see how he ends up doing. I like the years, though. I was worried the Mets were going to give him 5 years, and they didn't do that. They gave him 3 years, which I do like because he's a durable pitcher. But it's always good to have an ace like that. We'll see how I do like the hitters they brought in too, though. So that combination. So I was a little skeptical of Epler at first, and Scherzer was maybe that closest thing to that big Angels signing that he was making when he was over there. But again, I for the most part, you have to be happy with what they're doing because they have to do it now. Because the Braves won a World Series, the Phillies are still good. They have to make moves, and they did that.
Yeah, so I'm a Yankee fan, as you guys know, and at first I'm kind of upset in the big when the moves started happening, and I was like, Cashman, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you guys sitting there? And all the Yankees Twitter, Yankees universe is tweeting Cashman is still sleeping outside near the building. And come on, I mean now I'm starting to really realize what's their plan. And so I think for the Yankees, obviously, you know, the three big names, Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, have not made moves yet. I mean, the Red Sox made minor moves, but not big moves. So
but they're not going to, because if you listen to what Craig Goldstein said, I don't know if you were listening to the show. He's the expert. He said that the Red Sox aren't going to spend the money. They want to bring their guys up. I think a lot of Yankee fans, if you know anything about Brian Cashman waits until this after Christmas to make his moves. And being that there's via strike, it gives Brian Cashman a little bit of time to decide, or maybe talk to some of these teams while this strike is going on what makes sense for this team to actually where they're going to trade, what possible moves that they can make. I'm telling you right now, Brian Cashman's just not going to sit and think that this team is good enough after they weren't good enough last year to win a World Series. So expect Brian Cashman to make moves. Are they going to be moves that are going to stand out? Hey, listen, did anybody think that the Yankees were going to get Mark Teixeira in 2009? Nobody did. Nobody did. Brian Cashman pulled that out of his ass. Yeah. Okay. Everybody knew that the Yankees were going to get Garrett Cole, and Yankee fans were so happy when they got Garrett Cole. I was not. I didn't like the contract. Speedy will tell you, I didn't like the length of the contract, even though it wasn't as bad as some of these other guys that are getting 10 years. But Brian Cashman already said he's not giving a guy more than 7, 8 years. He's not doing that. And if Correa thinks he's going to get that, the Yankees aren't going to give it to him. So he might as well look the other way because they're not giving him that. But I think that when you look at all the teams, and you just said the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and the Yankees, the Dodgers aren't done. The Dodgers are going to make moves. I think the Dodgers are going to make a trade or something like that that's going to stand out. And the Yankees are definitely not done, and they haven't done anything. So expect it.
Yeah, no, like now I'm always on Twitter 24/7 to see the news, and they've been tweeting about the Yankees now. They just released the Carlos Correa market with the Yankees, Braves, Red Sox, Houston in there. I'm surprised that the Braves are in there. I don't know if they need a shortstop or not, but for the Freddie Freeman market, they said the Yankees are definitely interested in him, and then John Heyman said that they compare this to the Derek Jeter situation where you can get an iconic player like Derek Jeter to come in again. And they really love Freddie Freeman's game, and they feel like they can fit well in Yankee Stadium. But now it comes down to if Freddie Freeman wants to leave the team he got drafted with and move on somewhere else. But at some point, everybody's saying on Twitter they don't see him leaving. But you never know. Cashman can try and pull this off, and imagine if he pulls this off. All the Yankee fans will come. Thank you, Cash God. Thank you. But
Johnny, we've heard this. Johnny Damon. Everybody was saying when Johnny Damon came here. Johnny Damon was here for a certain amount of time. He's been with the Oakland A's. He's been with the Boston Red Sox. He was part of the big Boston Red Sox championships. I think he won 2 titles with the Boston Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken. Right? I think it was 2 or
no.
I
think he was only 1.
But he was the big. He was the big part.
Huge.
He was the big part of what he did against the Yankees, hitting that 7 runs, and the World Series. To me, he was the best player on that team. He played for the Red Sox, and he said his best time was with the Yankees. The Yankees could sell to Freddie Freeman, Carlos Correa, that you will be an important fit to this team and this organization. I think Freddie Freeman is the guy where I think the Yankees are waiting for. I said this to you earlier today. I think there's only 2 teams Freddie Freeman's going to play.
Do you think we can land both of them?
No, that's going to be difficult.
No, I could see Hader. I could see the Yankees making a trade for Hader if some of these guys fall out, if they don't get Freeman. But it's not going to happen. Even if the Yankees get Freeman, you think that's going to make Yankee fans happy?
No.
It's not. Yankee fans will still be complaining or something like that. They didn't get enough. Freddie Freeman's one of the best players in baseball. It's not going to be good enough for the Yankee fans. Yankee fans, they're all about hot takes. Give me a pitcher. Give me a relief pitcher. Give me everybody. Buy everybody. You're the richest team in all of baseball. You're worth $7 billion. Open up your pockets instead of putting it in your own pockets. Hal Steinbrenner is not doing that. He is going to be strategic on how he's going to sign, and expect the Yankees to extend Aaron Judge's contract too. Aaron Judge is going to be a free. He's arbitrated. I think he arbitrated this year. I think he can only go for one more year of arbitration. Yep. Then he's a free agent. The Yankees aren't going to let him to go to free agency, because if he does, he's gone. He's not staying with them. So expect the Yankees this year, this offseason or next offseason, to figure out a way to, because if they weren't bringing it back, you sign Carlos Correa and Freeman, because you know you're not bringing Aaron Judge back. If you're bringing Aaron Judge back, you take either Correa or Freeman. Ride with that. Make a trade for Hader. Make a trade for a pitcher.
Luis Castillo is an option. Luis Castillo from the Reds.
Yeah, he's interesting.
And then free agent market, if you want to go free agent market, I love Carlos Rodon. I feel like this is a great.
Oh yeah,
I would take a flyer on him in New York, and after what he did in Chicago, this guy is an unbelievable story, overcoming injuries and now getting his stuff back is amazing. So I would take a flyer on him. If not, go the trade route. Cashman loves going to the trade market and finding pitchers like that. So I mean. Obviously now we got to wait until the lockout, so it's going to be boring for the next month or so. But let's see what happens. I think Cashman has a plan, and I feel like either I'll be happy with whoever they end up with at this point. But if you're able to steal Freddie Freeman from the Braves, that's a huge get right there. That tells you how Freddie Freeman loves the Yankees. I mean. In order for them to get Freddie Freeman needs to be on board, obviously. So.
Listen, I'm hot on Tyler Harrison, who's sitting right across. He's a Yankee fan.
Yeah, let's go Yankees.
But he isn't a Yankee fan, because he'll sit here.
I'm never talking about Yankee baseball on this show again. So have a great day.
He will sit here and he will take shots at Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone. Because he thinks Aaron Boone is the worst manager in baseball.
He is a moron.
And I rest my case, even though every single year that he's been the manager of the Yankees, he's made the playoffs. Okay, which, by the way, Joe Girardi did not do in the and every single year that he has been here with the Yankees. Actually,
you also need
2 years
crown that you have to wear.
I'm sorry,
it's either Cashman's responsibility or it's Boone's. You can't share the wealth of both.
What are you talking about?
You give both of them full credit whenever you mention them.
I'm not giving him any credit. Brian Cashman is the best GM in baseball. He is.
And Aaron Boone's the best manager in baseball.
I didn't say that. I've never said that Aaron Boone is the best manager in baseball. I said Aaron Boone is maybe, I would say, top 5, 7 manager in baseball. I would say that. If you can make the play, you've been there for 4 years, and you've been in every year you're in the playoffs, and you had 2 100-win seasons, I would say you're a top 5 manager. How many managers in 4 years have made it to the playoffs every single year? Seriously, Speedy, could you?
It's the Dodgers, Dave Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs did it with Joe Madden in the 4 years in a row. Then they missed in 2019.
Terry Francona in Cleveland probably did.
Yeah, Terry Francona did. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Francona.
I'm talking about the last 4 years. Talking about the last 4 years.
Oh, last 4 years specifically.
Yeah.
Oakland,
Mm-hmm.
Houston. Oh, not the same manager though. Not Houston.
Cash.
Yep. Tampa,
which is in the top 5. We've said this.
He's one.
What's your opinion?
Nobody in the Central, because Cleveland didn't make it in 2020 or 19. Yeah, I said Dave Roberts already.
So you got really 3 or 4 managers that have done it. So to me, if you can make the playoffs every single year, it doesn't matter how talented your team is. The injuries the Yankees have been fighting every single year. There was a year that he had more injuries than we've ever seen in Major League history. I think the Yankees have 42 injuries. And by the way, they won 100 games.
Brewers and Cubs, or Brewers.
By the way, he
Braves.
should have won the Coach of the Year that year.
Brewers and Braves are the only other 2.
He was robbed that year. He was runner up.
Rocco Baldelli won, and he should have been 4th, in my opinion.
What I'm saying is there's not many managers that do it. And the fact that you would think that he's not a top 5, top 7 manager in baseball is ridiculous, because there's not many that do that. So if you're wrong, because
I'm sorry, Grand Wizard. You are right. He is top 5.
We just said 3 or 4 managers that have done it, and he's one of them. So how could you say that he's not? It doesn't make sense. And don't say the team, because the Yankees have fought more injury in the last 3 years than any team in baseball besides the Mets.
Hinch is better, right? Because AJ Hinch gets disqualified because Alex Cora.
He cheated. He cheated.
No, guess what? He beat Aaron Boone again, so it doesn't matter.
He beat Aaron Boone.
And that Tiger team is.
No, he didn't beat Aaron Boone again. He didn't beat Aaron Boone. What are you talking about?
The year that he got
Alex Cora did.
Oh, well, same shit. Him and
it's not the same shit. What are you talking about?
It absolutely
it's not
is.
The
He
same.
can't beat good managers.
I'm sorry. He can't beat good. All right.
Cash is better.
Can't
Cora's
beat good
better.
managers.
Hinch is better. Melvin's better. Council's better. That's 5. Right?
That's your opinion, and that's the most ridiculous opinion.
I'm still taking Girardi over Aaron Boone.
Well, I'm sure you are, because, by the way, Girardi's been with Philadelphia for the last 2 years and haven't even sniffed the playoffs. So, yeah, he's better. He's better. Great.
All right.
Great. He's awesome.
I'm sorry.
Great manager. Yeah. You can call me a Grand Wizard all you want.
I'm
You can.
everything you've ever said is 100% right.
I never said that.
Reason to debate
I
or talk.
never said that. The fact that you sit here and tell me that Aaron Boone is not a good manager just shows you how ridiculous you are. Yeah, he is a top 7 manager. He has gone to 4 straight playoffs again, and not only 3 managers in baseball in the last 4 years have done it. So to say that he's not is ridiculous.
7.
Yeah, Kepler's. Oh, why? Because he had one good season with the Giants. By the way, the year before that, everybody was laughing at him, said that he could coach and couldn't manage. Get the hell out of here. Dave Kepler is not better than Aaron Boone. It's retarded. You sound stupid. 1 year, and you put Kepler over him.
Injuries he had. He had 100 wins.
Sunk says Dusty Baker has another one.
Yep, 8.
Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker's been out of baseball for how long before he took that job? I'm sorry. I mean, Aaron, and you're telling me Aaron Boone couldn't have done that? Get out of here. You know what your problem is? You can't.
Got Aaron Boone so far up your ass. I don't even think you know where to find him.
No, I don't. I'm standing up for a manager that should get some kind of respect, who doesn't get it. Especially from a Yankee fan that sits here every single day.
You said you didn't even want him back.
What?
Then he signed a deal, and he's like, "It's a one-year deal.
Hold
They're not
on.
going to bring him back."
Tell you,
If
Speedy.
he doesn't want to
So I'll remember what I said. I didn't want him back. If there was a manager available that I think would take the Yankees to the next level, it wasn't any. It wasn't any.
So say status quo. That's right.
By the way, who's managing the Mets this year? Who's managing the Mets this
Hopefully
year?
Mike Schultz, but probably not.
Who's managing the Mets this year?
You know who's going to be the next manager for the New York Mets? You know who's going to be
Not easy to find a manager.
Nathan,
buddy.
do not say Brad Ausmus.
No, I'm not going to say it. You know who's going to be the next manager, in my opinion?
Who?
You know who?
Buck Showalter.
No, Mike Scherzer.
Mike Scherzer. Okay, I wouldn't mind that.
I told you that 2 months ago.
I don't think it's Mike Scherzer. Mike Scherzer said that with his heart condition, I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, he wouldn't have stepped away.
I don't think he's coming back.
There's no way that the Angels
he's good friends with Epler, and
right.
and Epler is from the Yankees organization. Scherzer, Sosha is he's very close with a lot of Yankee executives, but I don't see Sosha coming back.
I hope you're right, Nathan. That is a good choice, but I'm with that.
If the Yankees didn't bring back Boone, I really wanted Buck Showalter back with the Yankees.
I think it's Buck. I think that's where I've been.
I wanted Buck Showalter with the Yankees if he didn't bring up.
I don't want Buck. He's too old, and to me, I think he would fit with the Mets because he's good with certain players, like young players. I think he'll help Lindor because he helped Machado. I think he would help the infield and the way his style of coaching, his defensive prowess. He likes defense, and that's what he preaches. I think it'll help the Mets. I don't think it will help the Yankees, and I think Buck is a different type of coach. You know what I think would be good for the Yankees that he's not available, and and there's not many of them. There's not many of them. Who's the guy that manages what's his not Milwaukee.
Minnesota?
Is it Minnesota?
Paul Molitor?
Yeah, Paul Molitor.
Yeah.
Paul
I always
Molitor.
liked him too. Yeah.
Paul Molitor is a guy that I think.
Guy better than Aaron Boone.
Yeah. Everybody's better. Everybody's better than Aaron Boone. Take everybody in front of Aaron Boone. Oh, 4 consecutive playoff runs. Everybody. Hey, why don't we just take you as the manager? Because you're better than Aaron Boone too. I bet you think.
About time.
Yeah. I think you're on drugs. That's what I think. But that's just me. Whatever he
I
is.
have to be on drugs to deal with you.
No. Anybody that has to deal with you. And by the way, Jeff is coming December 14th. By the way.
Okay, great.
And he's kind of deciding if it's going to be in Rhode Island or it's going to be here. And that's right over here. So he is out here. We are planning this. So nobody is backing out on this. Either Jeff or you are going to back out on this.
Okay.
So,
Is this going to be like an every segment thing?
no, because I made sure it's quite annoying. You're the one who challenged him. You're the one who challenged him.
Snug says Aaron Boone is the new Jeff Fisher. Decent, but can't win it all. Aaron Boone is a solid B+, but A's win World Series. Oh, Earl would do a speedy dog trick on Aaron Boone if he could. Mike Scioscia and I enjoy making memes about the 2002 World Series and sending them to Dusty Baker. And Mets next manager, Robin Ventura. No.
That could happen, actually. That's pretty funny.
I mean, just as bad as Brad Ausmus.
I don't think it's Brad Ausmus. I really think it's probably going to be Buck. I mean, he's supposedly what we've been hearing, he's very close with Epler. I think it's Buck. It's either Ausmus or Buck. I think they go with the veteran guy that has experience in New York and has won. So I'm not talking about a championship, but has won everywhere he's gone. He's made teams better. He made the Rangers better.
Whoever manages the Mets, they're going to have a 1-2 punch of a pitching staff where it's going to be crazy. And
the Mets have had a 1-2-3 punch pitching staff for many, many years, if you remember. They've always had a good pitching staff.
The Mets' problem is they ruin relief pitchers and they're the most fragile team in baseball.
They've always had good pitching, the Mets. Always. The year that they went to the World Series, look at that pitching staff. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That was a ridiculous pitching staff.
The Mets at one point in that year had John Mayberry hitting cleanup. That's where it shows.
They've always had a good pitching staff.
That's where it shows that the pitching carried most of that team throughout the first 4 months of the season.
It's so funny because when we did an event with Doc Gooden. And before he came down, I was sitting with Doc and I said, what do you think about the Mets this offseason? He says, I think the Mets, they need some pitching. And he said, we need hitting. And the Mets need players that can actually hit and not get into these streaks where they can't hit. Mm-hmm. And the Mets, year in and year out, every single year, it doesn't matter who it is, they bring in these players, Lindor being one of them, and they don't produce. They don't hit for average. They don't get into those streaks. And then when they start to hit, the batting average is so damn low, they're playing catch up.
Well, not only that, when Lindor started hitting, the rest of the team went cold.
Yeah,
so that doesn't help for a team.
And they bring in Baez. They bring in
Baez was actually consistent, though.
He was good. And then they decide, you know what? That whole thumbs down thing, it didn't fit. They let him go. And by the way,
let me ask you this.
Baez, by the way, Seager got that $300 million contract.
Let me ask you real quick. Oh, sorry. Actually, finish. You finish. Sorry.
No, I'm saying that you look at what Seager got. You look at what Simmons got. You look at all these other guys that got the money that they got, the infielders. Baez is better than all of them. Okay? Baez is better than all of them. Mm-hmm. And he got $140 million.
Yeah.
It was a steal what Detroit got him for. And I don't know how long he's going to last with Detroit. I think Mikey C told me today that he has 2 years and he can actually opt out after 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So I think he will opt out of that contract because I don't think Detroit's going to be any good. So,
it depends on how much of that dead money they can shed. Because if they could get rid of the Cabrera and Martinez contracts and all the bad pitchers that they sign and the old guys,
I don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
I don't know if they will either. But again,
I was going to say, do you think the Yankees should have been on Baez?
No.
Because
they have Gleyber Torres who moved to second base. So I think when you saw what he did when he moved to second base this year, he hit over 300 when he moved there. He didn't make any mistakes. I think he's fit to be a second baseman in this league. I think Gleyber is going to be a good player. He had an offseason.
Tigers have a great shortstop. I love their shortstop. I think they have I forgot the name, but they have a generational shortstop.
Who's the shortstop?
No, they have the generational outfielder.
Do you know?
Torkelson.
Sorry, outfielder.
Torkelson.
Yes, that's what I meant. Outfielder.
Yeah, Spencer Torkelson.
Yes.
It's not a shortstop.
No.
I didn't hear about their shortstop. I mean, Baez is probably going to play shortstop for them. I mean, eventually, I think he's their best infielder as far as I'm concerned. And
He's their best player.
Yeah.
he probably is. And they got him for a cheap contract. I mean, that was a steal after you see the money that I was very surprised when I heard that he took $140 million. When you see Corey Seager get a $325 million contract, I'm like, what? And
I was going with the Mets giving him 180.
I thought the Yankees were going to sign him 2 years, $20 million, $20 million a year or something like that. This guy got one of the biggest contracts in Major League history.
They're going to watch this. Someone said on one of their radio shows, they said after 3 years, the Rangers are going to be looking to trade both of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Rangers have done this all the time.
I think Seager is badly overpaid, especially for how injury prone he is, too.
And Snug says, who doesn't love living in Detroit? Well, I mean, Javier Baez lived in Chicago. I mean, it's not what you call the best of cities. I mean, so
at least they have a little bit less crime and actually somewhat clean water.
Well, that's true. Actually, Chicago is bad crime too. I mean,
yeah, I know, but it's not Detroit bad.
No, it's not. Detroit's one of the worst in the country. But I mean, to me, Javier, I think he wanted to go. I know he's good friends with Miguel Cabrera. A lot of people love Miguel. Him going over there, I think, has a lot to do with Miguel and being close with him. But I don't. There's nothing that really stood out to me except, listen, the Mets and the Texas Rangers made the most moves. I think the Mets are trying to make a splash. Is this going to work? I think the fact that they brought Starling Marte in, I think Starling Marte was, to me, the best move the Mets have made. I like Scherzer, but I'm not going to bet on a guy that's going to be 38 next year that he is the end all be all and he's going to really change that. That pitching staff was good, so are they better with him? Yes, obviously you got him and DeGrom. I think Jacob DeGrom's the best pitcher in baseball, and you could argue Max could be the second, third, or fourth. So
I think the bigger deal with Scherzer, I think, is because a lot of those depth players, some of them are gone now. Syndergaard to the Angels, but again, down to the Cubs.
Again, the Mets had the at one point they had what's his name again, who people were saying was the best pitcher in baseball before he tore his
Matt Harvey.
I mean Matt Harvey and Jacob DeGrom. And Noah Syndergaard. You had three of the best always had the good young pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, the thing I like though with Scherzer, why I think it'll aid at least some of the other things, is he can give length, whereas those guys were.
Watch out for the Angels, by the way. Where did Stroman go today?
Cubs.
He went to Cubs.
He went to the Cubs.
Right.
He tweeted it too. I'm going to Chicago.
Well, good.
Yeah,
we'll see how long that lasts.
Nathan, I saw a meme on that. Here comes Marcus Stroman going to block a bunch of Cubs fans.
Did you see what Marcus Stroman said about the Yankees? I laughed at it.
Dude, I'm not surprised.
I thought it was very fun.
This guy's a joke. Yeah. I hope he struggles in Chicago. I hope he gets lit up by the whoever he plays in the NL. So
the Yankees never wanted him. I don't know why he's talking. I guess he was angry that the Yankees never made a move for him, because what he said was just absolutely uncalled for. And for a guy that's, by the way, has never won. Has he ever played in the playoffs?
Yes.
I mean, one time,
twice
in Toronto. Yeah.
I mean,
twice in Toronto.
I mean, he's from Patchogue. Obviously, I'm from Patchogue. I got a lot of respect for my roots, even though I can't stand Patchogue. By the way, I hate Patchogue. The fact that he attacked the Yankees, what goes around comes around. And I think him going to the Chicago Cubs is only going to come around to him very quickly. I don't know why he picked them. He should have went back to the Mets, I heard the Angels were interested in him. I'm surprised.
I thought he was going to the Angels.
I'm surprised he didn't go to the Angels. Listen, the Angels could be very scary too. I watch out for the Angels this year, because if Mike Trout is healthy, and
if half their lineup's healthy,
and Rendon and Ohtani, you have a very good middle of the half lineup that you have.
You're going to get a full year Jared Walsh. You're going to get a probably better Joe Adell, I would imagine.
You have Noah Syndergaard that's 100% healthy, that wants to prove himself. I mean, he only signed a 1-year deal, and I think Noah was only planning to stay there 1 year. I think Noah wants to get a big, huge contract.
Sure. Yeah, which is what was expected.
And I don't think the Angels are going to give him that. But I think the Angels giving him $25 million a year. I don't think anybody was going to give him $25.
I think it would depend on.
We have a trade just now.
I'm sorry.
We have a breaking news in a trade. Jeff Passan just tweeted.
That's it.
Boston traded Hunter Renfroe to the Brewers.
For who?
They're trying. I think it's Jackie Bradley coming back to Boston. I think.
Really? That's a
Yeah.
good move for Boston.
Who'd you say?
Jackie Bradley.
It looks like someone said Jackie Bradley, but we don't know. I'm trying to confirm it.
Well, yeah, that kind of makes sense though, because the Brewers need more power, so Renfroe supplies that, and they already have a Jackie Bradley type of Lorenzo Cain, so they don't really need him as much. Even though Cain has such trouble.
That's
hitting.
a good move by the Red Sox.
I think it's good for both teams actually. Because they have assuming the Red Sox re-sign Schwarber, because that's their other power guy that was like Renfroe.
There's a lot of teams interested in Schwarber.
I would imagine so with the playoffs he had. So if they can sign
St. Louis is interested in Schwarber, I heard. And remember, if the DH falls in,
it is Jackie Bradley Jr. Yep.
If Scherzer, if somehow this DH does fall in for the National League, which probably will, don't be surprised that after this strike is over, the Mets jump on Kyle Schwarber. You know what I mean? Or somebody like that.
The Mets have a lot of DH types. I don't know
I'm
if they
just
would
saying
be
there'll be teams that you're.
There'll be plenty of teams.
There'll be teams in the National League that will become available to add a DH that are going to be looking for a Kyle Schwarber.
I think the two best likelihood is probably the Cardinals and the Brewers. Yeah,
the Cardinals. Which listen, the Cardinals made that trade for what's his name again?
Arenado.
He looked like he was a stud in the first half of the season, and then he fell off in the second half. And Arenado did not have a good second half of the season. And I don't expect Nolan Arenado to have the numbers he had in Colorado, because nobody has those numbers.
It's hard to duplicate that.
But I think Nolan Arenado is still a fantastic player. Again, I don't know how long Nolan Arenado is going to be there. I think eventually, if the Cardinals aren't a playoff team and they're not consistent, they'll move him. Just as much as Goldschmidt.
Right.
Who could be available. I think is Goldschmidt under contract still?
Yes, he is. Because
how long?
The Cardinals signed him right away after they traded for him. I think his deal was 7 years.
7 years. And that was like 5 years.
That was 3 years ago. He should have 4 years left. So it's weird because both of them have been kind of good at times with the Cardinals, but never the same dominant player consistently. Goldschmidt had a really slow start to both of last 2 seasons. Then he got hot when Arenado got cold. Then when the whole team got hot, obviously everyone was hitting. And in the playoffs, Goldschmidt hit well in Arizona, was good there the 1 year. The Cardinals, he was good the one series, I think, against the Braves, but then he's been up and down since then. And Arenado, same kind of thing.
By the way, my sleeper to go to the Super Bowl is from the AFC is the New England Patriots.
Oh,
that's my sleeper. Actually, I like the Chargers, but the way the New England Patriots are playing defensively.
How about my Cowboys?
Oh, your Cowboys. They're in a bit of a slump, Nathan. What's going on?
I mean, I don't know. We're having a COVID outbreak as we speak right now.
Yeah, have fun with Ben McAdoo coaching you tomorrow.
No, I think it's Dan Quinn to be coaching. Either
got a win record as a head coach.
No, Dan Quinn's out too. It's Ben McAdoo.
You know what'd be so funny?
Tomorrow.
You know what'd be really funny? Ben McAdoo puts on an onslaught and they score 50 points.
Wait, Dan Quinn
Your team should be very concerned if that happens.
Wait a minute, Dan Quinn is out for us?
Yeah, I saw something where Ben McAdoo is going to be coaching you guys tomorrow.
Oh no! Oh my god!
So yeah, if Ben McAdoo is somehow
a lot of
the Cowboys against the Saints,
I
mean, I don't know. Your Saints should be very concerned at that point.
Sean Payton will retire.
Hey, we're gonna hire Sean Payton next year.
I can safely say Aaron Boone's actually better than Ben McAdoo.
And that shows you how lost you
were.
were.
My Cowboys are gonna hire Sean Payton next year. Book it.
Cowboys are gonna hire Sean Payton. Ooh, that's an interesting one.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
They said that 5 years ago. How'd that work?
That's not happening. I don't.
If Sean Payton's going anywhere, he's coming to the Giants. No, there's roots there. There's actually he's part of the Parcells tree. He'll come to the Giants.
Stark says Chicago just crossed 1,000 murders.
Here's a team that a lot of people don't expect, but if Sean Payton becomes available, remember this team, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay,
because that's where he has a connection with Derek Carr, and they're very good friends. They summertime they go out. They've gone to vacations together. I can absolutely see him going to Vegas. And listen, Sean Payton would fit there in Vegas.
He would.
So I think with Waller there and what they do over there, I think we've seen what he's done with tight ends.
Maybe he'll finally give Josh Jacobs the ball.
Yeah, he would. He
Yes.
definitely would.
I could see Vegas is a team that if he becomes available, which possibly could happen this offseason. I don't. There's no quarterbacks that in this draft class that I could say, hey, you know what? The Saints are going to move up and get that guy. He's going to be really, really good. I don't see it.
No, he's already playing. Jimmy Garoppolo will be the guy the Saints have to go get.
Jimmy, Deshaun.
No,
I mean, Aaron will be available. I could see Aaron Rodgers.
The Saints are going to have to shed a lot of money.
Aaron Rodgers going to Denver, I think, in my opinion.
Well, I think that too. I think that's where
another hot take: Russell Wilson going to the Giants. That's my hot take.
That's a lot of people's hot take, but the only problem with the Giants is the Giants are going to have to give up a lot of draft stock, and that's not something the Giants do.
That's something I'm worrying about it because they have
Maras
the
don't do that.
top 10 picks.
The Maras don't do that.
I think they're better off rebuilding with those picks.
You can with the picks that they have right now. Right now, if the season were to end 6-7, the Giants is set up very well. I mean, they can rebuild their offensive line or defensive line.
I want at least one pass rusher.
Right there. They can rebuild their defensive offensive line right there in the position that they're in.
And when they trade Leonard Williams, they're going to get another high-end pick too.
Not a first round.
Not a first round.
You'll get a second.
You'll get a second round pick.
You'll get a second round pick for him if they do that. Chicago.
Chicago doesn't need Leonard Williams.
They don't need Leonard
Williams.
Williams.
They will. Watch.
But they just got Chicago's first, and they have Chicago.
Yeah, they have Chicago's first.
No, I know that's why I said Chicago. It makes a ton of sense.
I don't think they need. They don't need Leonard Williams. I think the Chicago needs more on offense, not really defense.
I see
their defense is diminished. Yes, but
that's what they're going.
Being that the Giants have 2 top 10 picks right now, they're not trading for Russell Wilson. I mean, that would be a stupid move by them because you can.
I'll trade 7 and 2 first-round picks for 2 other years. Absolutely.
Oh, wait a second. So you're first of all, the teams are going to want this year's 6 and 7. That's what they're going to want, and they're going to want next year's first-round pick.
So keep them.
That's what they. No, I think there'll be a team that'll be offering that. Watch out for this dark horse, and I'm going to say this: Russell Wilson wants to go to a big city where he is the centerfold. Miami. Remember, I said that because I could see Miami just swooping in. You know, the owner loves superstars.
Oh yeah,
you know he loves superstars. It's a big city.
Oh, the owner and the celebrity ownership.
Yep, it's a big city over there. That's where he wants to go. He wants to go to a big city, and he'll be a star over there in Miami. So, and in the AFC East, I mean, look at that. Look at that division. I mean,
that division's loaded now. The Bills and Patriots are set for the next 4 years.
You just don't know. And with the Bills, you just don't know because once they were offensive coordinator, he's going to get a job this offseason.
Who?
Dable. Dable's going to get an offense. He's going to get a job this year. Absolutely. He will. He was very close to getting the Jets job.
I can see him getting the Raiders.
He almost got the Jets job. And so he's gonna get a job.
I could see him getting the Raiders.
Yeah, he's gonna get a job, and Josh Allen might not be the same quarterback when he leaves.
The guy from the Chiefs deserves a job.
Yes,
Eric Bieniemy, I think.
Absolutely.
No, I think there's something wrong with him.
I don't think he knows how to interview. I think you're right.
But at what point do you have to say, all right, don't worry about that. We actually have to take a chance on an offensive scheme that works.
Well, look at the offensive scheme this year. Has it worked?
I don't really blame him, though. I think the play calling's fine. I don't think the Chiefs got any more conservative or not. I just, like you're saying, Tyreek Hill is distracted. Their other receivers are dropping passes galore. Their O-line is just transitioning and getting chemistry with each other. Now the Chiefs are winning. They've won 5 in a row now. I think you're right. Their offense isn't what it used to be. I don't blame the enemy on that, though.
I would agree with Tyler on this one. There has to be a problem with Eric Bieniemy because if he hasn't had a job, he interviewed for 17 jobs, and once interviewed twice in the different years with the same job, and he still couldn't get the job. I think there's a problem there.
Didn't you tell me I was wrong about that like 2 weeks ago?
No, I didn't. I did not. Not about Eric Bieniemy, because there's a lot of people that say there must be a problem with Eric Bieniemy at his interview. But Eric Coleman, who's a good friend of the show, and I've talked to Eric tons of times, even off. Still to this day, I still talk to Eric. Eric keeps telling me that Eric Bieniemy his hot take is he's the future, and he believes he's going to be a good coach in the NFL. And when he gets a job, he's going to take that team and he's going to run with that team. So
watch him go to the Raiders. Wouldn't that be something?
Could be. It could happen. I don't.
Don't be surprised if John Gruden finds another job.
Not right away.
No,
not right away.
Not right away.
Not
Maybe
That's not gonna happen.
next year, but the year after that. He's gonna.
He's suing the NFL.
I don't know.
going
It
to
seems
want
too
to coach.
controversial for any team to take on right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
But I think
Controversial. He's the only one that got in trouble for something the Washington football team did.
Yeah.
Nobody said they were the brightest either.
Oh, it's it. His brother's going to get in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
He's lined up to get in a lot of trouble.
He's employed,
Owner.
so-
I mean, the owner was smart. He was really smart. What he did 3 years ago, because he knew this stuff was brewing, he took the team, took it out of his name, and put it into his wife's name. So the real owner of the Washington football team is his wife. So he's very smart because no matter what, but here's the stupid thing.
Shady.
If she ever divorced,
Yeah, you're
come on. He's in a he is shit out of luck on that. Well, I mean, he gets half of them, but
He's there less than half.
I just think it was.
He might get 25% if he's lucky. Legally, I think he gets 0.
Slick says it's all fun and games until Scherzer lands on the DL. Is the guest related to Junior Beef? No.
He's just messing with you.
Angels will play anyone right now. Pay anyone right now. Maybe the Mets will sign Schwarber. That's not a sleeper after 7 wins.
Who the hell is Junior Beef?
Junior Beef, the Beef.
The Beef
comes on
that
the
calls
show.
our show. He's also a Cowboys fan.
He's a Cowboy
Maybe that's
fan.
where
He's like you. know?
Maybe that's where the comment came from.
But he's not a Yankee fan.
He's
a Met fan.
That's not a sleeper after 7 wins.
But
in a row.
he also thinks that the he does he didn't say the Mets are going to win the World Series, but he every time the Mets do something like really good, or any of his teams do anything really really good, it's like
Straight Super Bowl.
they're a Super Bowl champion. They're
exactly.
they're a playoff team. They're
This is supposed to be the third of the 3 years of 3 straight Super Bowls.
Oh,
have they
man.
not been there? Have they made the playoffs since he made that comment?
No, I don't think so. No, 2018.
No, it was last year. Last year he made the comment.
No, he didn't.
No,
We
he made
were
the
in
comment in
cafe.
2019. They haven't.
What?
Yeah.
No,
We
it
were
was
in the
last year.
cafe.
Wasn't
It was 2019. He made the comment. They missed the playoffs. They collapsed.
Oh.
The Eagles won the division, and last year the Washington won the division.
Huh.
So it has to be this year to be their one playoff year.
The Beef is very interesting.
Yes, yes, he is.
He's very interesting, and he's a diehard Cowboy fan, and he always picks the Cowboys to win.
Speaking of,
All I want him to do is not talk about the Rangers. Let's leave the Rangers alone.
He knows a lot about the Rangers.
Yeah, well, every time he opens his mouth, they play better. So don't even mention them. Just let them play how they're playing. Everything he said at the beginning of the year was complete garbage. So let's just leave it alone.
Snug says that's not a sleeper after 7 wins in a row. I think referring to the Patriots. Please tell me this guy's related to and hangs out with the Beef. Next Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett. Yeah, he'll probably go back to the Cowboys. And
So he will definitely go back to the Cowboys.
That's the offensive coordinator.
Back to the Cowboys.
Speaking of
Cowboys.
speaking of the Cowboys, Dan Quinn is our head coach for tomorrow, but Ben McAdoo would be
Ben McAdoo.
Ben McAdoo
is not going to be on the coaching staff.
Ben McAdoo will be. They say he will be in the booth, coaching booth.
Okay, all right. Stuck says so. They didn't. So he got really lucky. The Jets didn't pick him. And Eric Bieniemy and I like to make prank phone calls to former Bengals like Boomer Esiason and Anthony Munoz. And now the league's things.
Oh, there he goes. Snug with his stupid.
Snug, why are you picking on the Bengals exactly?
He's not a Bengals fan. He's a Patriot.
Does anyone dislike the Bengals really that much where you have to pick on them?
Well, listen, the Bengals, they're another sneaky good team.
Yeah, they are.
They get into the playoffs, they could be scary good, too. I mean, that defense is not bad.
And they're good against the run, too.
And their offense is really good. I mean, they're explosive, and we saw what their running back could do last week.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't explain it. And by the way, I feel so bad for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for him, man. He can never stay healthy for a full season. He's been fighting injury all year, and he's so special. Every time he's
I think he's the not most dominant. Derrick Henry's most dominant, most all-around talented.
He's so special. He really is. And he just can't stay on for a full season. And it's terrible. I mean, have we, in the 5 years that he's been in the league, have we
one full season?
He's played one full season.
One full season, yep.
I mean, when he plays a full season, I mean, he's one of the best running backs we've seen in a very long time. Okay, he's really good. By the way, could have been a Giant.
Beef also says, Tyler, you're an idiot. And Slick says, Bieniemy was on the Bengals briefly back in the late 80s, early 90s. Okay, Slick.
Oh, what did Beef? The Beef said what?
He said, Tyler, you're an idiot.
Yeah. Trade Panarin. That's the
there's a Beef.
idea.
Beef's back, baby.
Back. Where do you
There he
go?
is. The Rangers have problems on defense. He's right. They do. But yes, they have
They're
problems.
9th in hits. They're 8th in block shots, and their goalie's a top 5 goalie right now in the league. So where's the problem defensively?
There we go.
Yeah, there's no.
Dude, best player on the team. That'll solve your issue.
Rangers are rolling. I think, in my opinion, the Rangers they can compete for the Stanley Cup this year.
They're not competing.
Whoa!
They're not competing for the Stanley Cup.
No. We're not competing for a cup.
They're not competing for.
You just want to have a good seed in the playoffs and win a round or two. That's what the Rangers.
They'll be lucky to get out of the first round. They're not winning the cup.
Be lucky.
They will because I listen.
Never
there are a lot
mind.
of teams. There are a lot of teams that
what
are not.
am I arguing for? You're right, Brandon. We're lucky to get out of the first round.
When was the last time they played in the playoffs?
The Islanders would be lucky to get in the playoffs.
You're damn right they are. Well, that's because of the whole NHL and what they did to them. So you blame
sound
that.
like to be blaming the refs for every
I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming the refs. I'm blaming the NHL for what they did, and that's a fact. Go look at what they did. There are so many people, even executives, complaining how the Islanders got screwed in the last 2 weeks. So I'm not the only one that's saying. Executives in the NHL are saying it.
Stark says, hashtag ban
8 games in a row they've lost because, oh, by the way, 9 players have COVID and 2 of their coaches have COVID, and they're playing with not even secondary players as their backups. So good. That's great.
Stark says, hashtag ban the Beef. Beef says,
Sorokin's playing great.
Panarin is playing.
He's playing great.
I said all hail Sorokin.
He's the only one that's stood out to
New
be
York
playing.
goalie of all time already. The kid's amazing.
Nobody said that.
Beef says Panarin is playing like shit.
Eddie Jockerman's the greatest New York City goalie of all time.
Beef says you're an idiot. You want to win the cup, you jackass, and not just make the playoffs. Stupid.
You wanna know who broke that Red Sox?
Hold on. Wait, I thought that comment was him. Read that comment again.
Nah, you're an idiot. You want to win the cup, you jackass, not just make the playoffs.
Obviously, numbnuts. You want to win the fucking cup.
Oh
the
my-
realistic expectation is for the Rangers to win a round or two.
Yes.
They're not beating Tampa. They're not beating Boston. They're not beating Washington. They're not going to beat Pittsburgh.
It's Washington in the playoffs. There's always a chance.
You guys, you want to know who broke that Red Sox and Brewers trade first? Talking Jake from John Boy.
And by the way, whatever happened to what's his name again? He was supposed to come on.
Yeah, Mark, where are you?
Well, Mark disappears. Mark was supposed to join us with you.
Yeah, he wanted to talk some SEC championship game,
and he doesn't even show up. I mean, he'll show up. 5 minutes before the show is over.
Talking Jake broke that news first than any other baseball reporter out there.
Yeah, well, it's going to be. It's listen. The NHL it's still so very early. I mean, what do you play? 20 games. There's still so many games left. There's still a full. It's not even half the season yet. Nope. So you got a lot. And by the way, Errol, you need to remove Flyer SAP. What?
They beat the Flyers. Why do you need to remove the Flyers? We beat the Flyers tonight. The Flyers are not in a playoff spot, Beef. That's what you're trying to figure out.
Oh, no,
here.
he said something.
Tyler.
Okay. I'm not removing anybody.
Nice.
No, you don't have to remove me because I quit. So you can go F yourself.
He's
Go make me a cupcake, bitch. How's that sound?
That would be honored.
Oh, Mark has a. What is that? What did he say?
Oh, Mark has a perpetual boner until Bama wins the title or gets bounced from the playoffs. He's distracted so bad. Well, that's decided this weekend. They win, they're in. They lose, goodbye.
Who are they playing this
Alabama.
They lose.
This is the SEC championship game. They'll lose. If they lose, they're done, and probably Oklahoma State gets in if they win the Big 12 championship.
They lose. Michigan's getting into.
Michigan will be in unless unless somehow Michigan loses to whoever's in the Big 10 West. Michigan loses to Iowa. That would be sad. But
Michigan deserves to be in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's my prediction: Michigan plays in the national title.
Yeah.
Remember, I said that.
Yeah, I can see
Remember,
that.
I said that.
So, yeah,
I didn't say they're going to win, but Michigan will play in the national title. And boy, oh boy, if Jim Harbaugh wins the championship, expect, ladies and gentlemen, him to leave Michigan. You heard it from here, that if they win the national championship, Jim Harbaugh will be going elsewhere. By the way, Rangers should trade Panarin for Barzell ASAP. I don't think that's going to happen.
So Jim Harbaugh wins the national championship, and now we have a whole nother weekend of great coaching carousels of college football. Maybe Lincoln Riley will go to Michigan after that. After he crashes and burns after 2 years.
What, at USC?
At USC.
I think he's going to build USC very, very well.
So?
Yeah.
Here's a big question. I write articles for the Seahawks now, but here's a big question. If the Seahawks decide to blow it up after this year, and if they decide to trade Russell Wilson or whoever they trade, does that mean Pete Carroll's future?
He's gone.
Pete Carroll's going to retire.
He's
That's
gone.
why they're going to trade Russell Wilson.
He's gone.
Do you think he'll go back to college or?
No, I think he's done. He's like the oldest coach right now in the NFL.
He's the oldest coach of the NFL.
I think he's like 72.
He might go on as an AD somewhere though.
He might. I don't think he is. I think he's done. I think he's going to retire.
USC reaches out to him.
Well, USC just got Lincoln
Riley.
Yeah,
no, not as a coach, as like a AD or as a.
I don't think so because of what the whole thing that happened over there before he left.
Right.
I thought they exposed that. I thought USC got all this.
Expunged
that?
But
I don't know if they want to create more controversy. They're trying to create a new image.
Yeah, they're not going to create controversy.
They're trying to do that with Lincoln Riley. Oklahoma is overrated as they've been in certain years. Have still been a clean program where they haven't had any like sideshow stuff with that. Even though I don't think he's a great coach, he's great. Yeah. He's still built a stable program, which I think USC is trying to do. USC tries to swing for the fences so much, and they have all these. They try to rely on their Southern California recruiting so much, and then they always have a dud game.
Pete Carroll is 700 years old. He's going to coach his great grandkids Pee Wee League.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I think he's done. And listen, here's why they should have blown up. They should have never gave Jamal Adams that contract.
Yeah.
It was. I know they gave up 2 first-round draft picks, and that's why they had to. And Jamal has played well. Especially the last 3 weeks, he's played well.
He's played better, but he's got worse overall from last year, which isn't good.
I mean, you really you set your team back for so many. Just look where you are right now. You have the same record as the Jets. You would be drafting in front of the Jets. You'd be drafting at 4, and the Jets would be drafting at 5. Okay, that just tells you what they did and how they set their team back.
You've won one more game than the Houston Texans.
Don't be surprised DK Metcalf is going too.
Yeah, he's up for a contract next year.
Is he?
Yeah, next year is his contract year. Because he
ever
was
since
not a
he
first
made
round
those
pick. Remember?
comments to Shannon Sharp.
That's right.
He's gone to
Hey,
shit.
if DK Metcalf is available, look for the Patriots to pounce on him.
There'll be a lot of teams pouncing.
Why? No, whoever misses out on Odell in the offseason is going to go after him.
There'll be a lot of teams pouncing on him. The Jets are looking for a number one.
Well, it's not this offseason
there's
for
a
DK.
lot.
It's next year.
Yeah, there's
unless they trade him.
Yeah, that's what they would do if they don't think they're going to sign him. But they have to decide what they're doing at the quarterback. If they lose Russell Wilson, they go after Deshaun Watson. They could do that. They say, you know what? We'll trade Russell Wilson and we'll put our eggs with Deshaun Watson. They could do that.
Oh, that would be an upgrade of an offensive line for Deshaun Watson. Not by much, but
I think it's an upgrade for them. I mean, Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback.
How long is Dwayne Brown going to be there?
Only until next year.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
Dwayne Brown was a free agent that they brought in. Did they? Did they trade for Dwayne Brown or
no? They had to. They traded for him 4 years ago, and then they just franchise tagged him last year. Then they gave him a new extension this year.
From Texas, the
Texans,
Texans, right?
He was with the Texans for a long time, so 9 years or something. And then actually Deshaun Watson's rookie year when he got hurt,
he's the only
had the
decent player on
injury.
that offensive line,
right?
Honestly,
and then they traded him. They traded him to Seattle that year. I think they got a 2nd round pick or something at the time, and then they traded 2 first round picks for Laramie Tunsil.
I remember that too. That set that team back for a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, the Texans have not looked that bad this year. They really haven't.
No, they play hard.
They play hard for their coach. They have talent. Defensively, they have a couple of got nice pieces that could be good.
Cut. Cunningham.
Yeah, who should be playing more for the Giants, by the way.
He doesn't probably know the defensive system.
Yeah, anything's better than Tay Crowder, but okay.
He knows the system.
I just think that
The Giants defense next year is going to be solid.
Yeah, they still have a big flaw with Crowder.
Well, if they have the 6th and the 7th
Blake
pick,
Martinez towards ACL.
they have the 6th and 7th pick. I mean, the Giants could solidify their defense right there.
Yes,
I mean,
at least one pass rusher, please.
they might even get 2 of them.
I
mean,
I wouldn't mind that at all.
You need a tackle. You need a tackle back. Matt Pert doesn't play for whatever freaking reason.
Well, the only
Matt Pert is very raw. He still needs more time.
I mean, Neal will probably be gone with the Jaguars.
Sure.
I think the Jaguars, if they sitting nicely at 3, I think that's where it goes.
That's possible. I wouldn't mind them drafting the Iowa center you like too for the Jets. I wouldn't mind the Giants drafting him too.
The center?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either if the Jets don't take him, because the Giants have Billy Price is decent. I don't have nothing against him, but he can also play guard.
They said he could play guard too.
Yeah, he could play guard, so I'm not really worried about that kind of thing.
Shane Lemieux?
I think Hernandez is overrated.
Hernandez is a free agent at the end.
I don't like Hernandez.
So they might not bring him back. They might not bring him back. He's a nice run blocker, but he's awful in pass blocking.
I mean, a lot of Giant fans. I remember Mikey C. He loved Hernandez. Remember that?
I do. I remember that. I remember that because the offensive lineman I wanted was Braden Smith, and he's doing a good job on the Colts.
And I told him, I said, "You're out of your mind."
Remember when Zach Martin got taken out of our laps?
Yeah.
No,
Let's go Cowboys. We got Zach Martin, one of the best offensive linemen that we have right now.
He is.
Zach Martin. Who went before?
Let's go.
He is the best. He is the best.
Lawan.
Besides Quentin Nelson, he's the best guard.
Zach Martin, and also when healthy, Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith also.
Give Elijah Vera Tucker a couple of years, he'll be right there with them.
Not anymore. I think when healthy, Bakhtiari is the best.
Big Ben is done.
Why Teller's gonna have an argument?
The legend of beer chugging.
Guard? Yeah, I think Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be a top 3 guard in the league in the next 2 years.
No, Speedy.
Why Teller?
Speedy, the legend of the beer chugging guy. Bakhtiari.
Well,
yes, I think he's the best tackle.
If you look at the guard positions right now, and you look at where he's rated right now as a rookie, this year in the last 5-6 games, Elijah Vera Tucker has been a top 5 guard in football. So, and he's a rookie. So I believe in 2 or 3 years he will be one of the top 3, top 2 guards in all of football. That's what I think.
Stark says the only person older than Pete Carroll in the NFL is Matty Ice. Well, I have it on good authority that Zeke and Barkley are both better than Barry Sanders.
Oh, no question. No question.
I never said Barkley was better.
I remember who was the guy that actually agreed with Tyler?
Eddie.
I thought he was on his. I thought he was.
Eddie
Spaghetti was on drugs. I mean, what the hell are you talking? I mentioned Curtis Martin. He says, "Well, no. But Curtis Martin's closer than those 2 guys by far." I mean,
maybe Dave Damashek paid him to say it or something.
Eddie Spaghetti. Oh, man, we got to get him back on the show. He actually.
I'll try to coordinate him and Damashek together.
Definitely, you should. That would be something. That would be funny, both of them, because Damashek probably would completely disagree with him.
Just don't insult the Steelers.
2 minutes away from the lockout. Here we go.
Are you?
We're 2 minutes away from going home.
What do you think the Yankees will do in the lockout?
Freddie Freeman.
Nothing.
That's what Tyler thinks.
Well, you're not going to do it. You can't do anything on the lockout.
Right.
You can't do anything.
You really
can't do anything.
So Aaron Boone's going to have his best managing period right now.
Here he goes again with Aaron Boone.
Stuck says, talk about crushing beers. A couple of years ago, I saw Speedy pound a whole suitcase of beer during the show, and then he continued to produce it like it ain't no thing. Stuck, who would put beer in a suitcase?
No, but you did put beer in a bag that broke.
I did.
And look who decides to show up at the end of the show. What did I tell you?
No,
you're right.
No, Tyler Harris. Goodbye. So long.
Yeah. I know. I'm sorry, guys.
What's going on?
I got caught up. I went to church tonight. Then after church, I was stopped by to see a friend about.
Could you take Tyler to church? I think he needs it. I think he needs it.
I'd burn the building.
He burned the building. Oh,
yeah, that's what everybody says. But please, I'm far worse than you are, Tyler. Okay.
The beef says Tyler knows nothing about anything. God, what? I gotta get.
You're right. I know the Cowboys would go to 3 straight Super Bowls. I knew Dak would win MVP. I knew to trade to Terry Panarin. I knew all these things. Right.
Tyler
right.
needs to
I
go
knew
for
Zeke
hair
would do
for
the same
men.
thing.
Your
You need
hair's
to go
not
to
much
the
better,
face for
Beef.
the blind, but I didn't say anything. Anyway.
Hey, Beef, your hair's not much better.
Mike, Mark, what would you like to talk about? We got Nathan on too, by the way.
What's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good, how about you?
Good. There's a couple of things I wanted to get your opinion on. What do you think of Max Scherzer signing with the Mets?
Tyler thinks it's wonderful. I've pretty much told him 38 years old, $43 million. That's a lot of friggin' money.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of friggin' money.
Right.
So
for a guy who had own problems during the postseason.
I think listen, if he pitches well and gets the Mets in the playoffs and gets the Mets as a World Series contender, then it's not a bad move.
Right.
I don't mind the length though either, Mark.
Stay
They didn't
here.
give him the 5
Stay
years.
here.
They didn't
Come
give
on.
him 5 years. I was worried about that. 3 years you could live with
It's a player option after 2 years.
Yeah. So I actually didn't. The money's a bit much.
It's a bit much.
Yeah.
For a guy. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Which is fair.
To pay a guy that's 38 years old
Which is
at
fair.
the beginning of the season.
No, that's fine. I don't mind the length though. I'm all right with the length. I was for
Of
a
course
guy.
you're all right with the length.
For a guy-
You're a Met fan, Mark. Did you like it?
No.
I didn't like it either.
No, but I don't like anything the Mets do.
You don't like Marte? I thought Marte was a good move by them.
I thought it's okay. I mean,
I like it.
I think it answers some of their depth issues, okay? Because they definitely have depth issues. The thing I'm most the biggest concern I have with the Mets is why they always have injuries every year. Why they have
Mike said.
hamstring pulls. Why is there some way they're not training? Is there some way that they're doing things that aren't effective? That
The Yankees got the same problem.
That shouldn't stop people from trying to sign people, though, Mark. I mean,
No, but it doesn't matter because you get a Jed Lowry or a guy coming off a big year,
sure.
and then they don't play and because of injuries. You know.
Well, Jed Lowry was a weird one because he's only good in Oakland. Like everywhere else he goes, he's not good.
Right.
Well,
Well,
he never played for Boston because he couldn't stay healthy. I mean,
take for instance, Texas signing Marcus Semien. All right, Semien was a guy who wasn't. He wasn't in the Mets organization. So I'm thinking of somebody else, but Semien then put up really good numbers for most of his career, and then he has a career year, with Toronto off of an okay year with Oakland. So to give a guy 7 years for that to me is a little ridiculous.
a lot of these contracts were ridiculous. The Seager contract
The
is
Seager
very,
one,
very
I think, is
ridiculous.
worse because
Yeah.
that's years for a guy that's fragile.
Seager one.
Seager got 10
years,
years,
320.
Kyle Seager, that's pretty bad. I mean,
I said,
consider now, what people are getting paid.
Yeah.
Marte's a guy I like, but again, they've had signings like that. Like I liked when they signed Jason Bay. Okay, and then the guy stopped hitting.
Just mentioned Jason Bay.
I like when they got Baerga. Remember them getting Carlos Baerga?
I remember that from the Indians. Yep.
Yeah, for Burnitz and Jeff Kent. Right? Jeff Kent went on to have a pretty good career. I don't know if you remember that.
He was pretty good with the Mets too. I mean,
He was okay with the Mets. He wasn't a Hall of Famer with the Mets like he was with the Giants.
No,
Sure.
but he would have been. He would have been. I mean, if the Mets kept him, he would have been. He's a good player.
He developed into a Hall of Famer. And,
Was he a Met farm system player? Was he?
No, they got him for David Cohn.
Oh, that's right.
They got him and Ryan Thompson. See, sick memory. But yeah,
Jason Bay. I remember Jason Bay.
He hit 37 homers with Boston.
I know he's an MVP candidate.
He was great with the Pirates too. And
but Burnitz was another guy. Burnitz with the Mets, he couldn't hit 250 and it hit 10 homers.
Like
and then he go to Milwaukee, it's 38 homers. It's like I've seen them sign guys where I like the signings and something either they don't play well in New York or there's an injury they get or, how do you...
There's some kind of team culture thing maybe with that too.
Well, what are you going to say, Niffin? What are you going to say?
Yeah, no. I was gonna say same thing. I'm a Yankee fan. Like same thing. What we did with Ellsbury when we signed him to that 7-year deal. Obviously, the injury The injuries came there. When he was in Boston, he was like an MVP in Boston, right? When it comes to the Yankees, that's when all the injuries started.
That was one of
he had injury problems in Boston.
That was one of the worst moves Brian Cashman has ever made, and he's come out and said it. He says, "I have made mistakes, but." And that mistake was probably the one that really stood out of all the moves that they made. That was a terrible move.
But Nathan, he also had injury problems in Boston too, which is why the length of that kind of contract.
He was on steroids too, I believe.
Yes.
It's kind of like the Angels signing of Josh Hamilton.
Oh,
yes.
But he really started to deteriorate that second half of the year with Texas.
Right.
What?
Well, he only had the.
What did you say, Ty?
And he really only had the 2 years.
You can't even compare the two. Josh Hamilton had a relapse in L.A.
Well,
How do you compare those two?
Hamilton had he was in like a 33-year-old body, like an 80-year-old man was in a 33-year-old body because of what he put body through. But he had freak talent. I mean, you can't just that guy had freak talent.
I've ever seen.
Who? Hamilton?
Josh Hamilton.
Great power hitters. For 5 years, one of the best power hitters I've ever seen.
Sure. And he was putting up numbers in Texas. That year, it was 2011, 2010. The first half numbers for Hamilton were off the charts.
Unbelievable.
He was hitting near 400. He had like an OPS of like almost 1,100. And then the second half of the year, he just disappeared. And then he got
home run derby that he hit in Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
That was 2008.
That was 2008. I remember Texas had him, and remember Milton Bradley? Milton Bradley was a guy who had a ton of talent, but he was a head case.
Yeah.
That's right.
2012, his last year with the Rangers, was 43 home runs, 128 RBIs too.
Yeah, that was the year. He had a bad second half. If you look at the second half, first half statistics, they're not even close.
His numbers for 5 years was off the charts.
Yeah, we're really good. Yeah.
Josh Hamilton was one of the best, if not the best player in baseball.
I thought he'd be a Hall of Famer.
Was it? Did Tampa draft him?
Yeah.
Tampa Bay drafted him. Yep.
And then he started. Then he went to Cincinnati. His first year was with Cincinnati.
And he got traded for Edison Volquez. Yeah.
Right. He had an okay year since, but they didn't play him. And then he goes to Texas, and he took.
Well, because I think Cincinnati still had Griffey and Adam Dunn and Kearns. Right. I think at the time, like they had a lot of outfield.
Jay Bruce too at that point.
I don't think Jay Bruce was up yet. I think it was Kearns, Griffey, and
tried to make the Yankees
Adam
this
Dunn.
year. Jay Bruce tried to make the Yankees this year. It was so funny.
I don't think Jay Bruce was up yet.
Speedy, remember Xavier Nady?
Yes.
Oh,
Xavier Nady had a great first half for the Mets. Yeah. They traded him to the Pirates, didn't they? For Roberto Hernandez, was that who they got for him?
I'm trying to remember. It was a reliever. It was a reliever.
What were you saying, Tyler?
The Massimo Marte, I'm pretty sure, was the guy that they traded over there.
Yeah, maybe.
That was the Yankees trade. I think.
Remember the Mets had a guy, they got Dueno Sanchez. Remember Sanchez who was like lights out in the bullpen?
I liked him.
And then he got into a car accident.
Cat accident, yeah.
Yeah, cat. And then
you're right. Roberto Hernandez and Oliver Perez, of course.
Oliver Perez, yeah.
No. The Yankees got Xavier Nady and DeMarco Marte from the Pirates, I think.
Because I remember he wound up with the Yankees, yeah.
And Nady wasn't even the player that was the big one out of that.
It was Marte.
It was actually 6 players of that deal. The Pirates traded Nady, Davaso Marte. It was Jose Tabata, Dan McCutcheon, Jeff Karstens, and Ross Ollendorf.
Jeff Karstens was pretty good.
He was pretty good. But I think he was older.
I'd say, but Xavier Nady was a big part of the Yankees' run.
Yeah,
he played very well in the second. Like really, the last 20 games of the season, he was the biggest. He was the hottest player on the Yankees.
He was a big part of the 2006 Met team before they traded him, and then they got the
underrated defensive player too. By the way,
yeah, because remember, Mark, they were making way for Last Things Village. It was supposed to be
right, of course, yeah.
That didn't pan out.
Or the other guy who went to Milwaukee had it.
Gomez, yeah,
Carlos Gomez, yeah. They traded. Didn't they trade for Santana?
In the Santana deal, yep. They traded him to the Twins, and then the Twins traded him to the Brewers.
I like Carlos Gomez. I remember him.
He's a talented player. He just made a lot of dumb things.
Yeah, right. But Millers was nothing.
Right.
Millers had like a game-tying home run off Armando Benitez one time, and that was it.
It's Armando Benitez.
Yeah.
Who is Armando Benitez?
Oh, wow, man. That guy, he had great stuff, but he was
great stuff.
Second greatest Met closer of all time.
I mean,
he really wasn't bad. He really
was.
Bad. But he just melted down.
Especially against the Yankees. He always melted down against the Yankees.
Yeah.
Always.
Always. I remember
Always
I did a thing about him when I was at ESPN, the top 10 Armando Benitez meltdowns. and about 5 of them were against the Yankees.
Yeah. He always felt that against
He's the one that hit Tino Martinez.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, so
a big brawl. Yeah.
He was in Baltimore. He wasn't a Met when he did that.
No, he was with Baltimore, right. But I'm saying a lot of them came against the Yankees.
I remember that. Armando Benitez had a good career. He wasn't a bad pitcher. He was a good pitcher. I mean, but I think when you look at the contracts, remember last year the contracts with DJ LeMahieu was like garbage. I mean, Springer got nothing. Springer got nothing.
Yeah.
And look at the contracts this year. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You give Seager a 10-year, $325 million contract.
He's worth every penny.
I don't know about that.
No, I said this earlier. After 3 years,
is he a top 5 shortstop in the league?
Yes.
Yeah.
Corey Seager?
After 3 years,
he had, yes.
After 3 years, the Rangers would be looking to trade that contract. After 3 years.
So you got Correa, Trey Turner,
Tatis
Jr.,
Lindor.
Who ended up signing Correa?
Seager.
Nobody yet.
No one yet.
No one signed Correa yet.
It's a lockout now, so no one can sign it.
What'd you say, Nathan? It was the Braves, the Yankees, Astros, and
so the Carlos Correa market right now is the Yankees, Braves, Astros, and then Angels, I think.
The Astros will not get him. The Astros are not
getting
getting him.
Letting him go.
The Astros are not giving him.
That signing's got Angels written all over it.
Huh?
That is Angels written all over it.
I think so too.
But again, I thought Marcus Stroman did too. But
Angels.
Well, they signed Syndergaard. Like, why would Syndergaard go with the Angels? Like, I always liked Syndergaard. I really did.
Lindor.
Would you have given him that
Beef
money?
says
though?
Lindor was terrible contract. Maybe Bobby Bonilla should play. Who's still playing him? We're paying him.
But by the way, the weird thing is, I think there was something that on Twitter I saw after Corey Seager's contract and Francisco Lindor's contract expire. Bobby Bonilla
Whatever
still
happened
going
to
to get
Yoenis
paid.
Cespedes?
Bobby's still getting paid. I know.
Whatever happened to Yoenis Cespedes?
The Mets caught him last year. He hasn't been seen since.
Yeah, he stepped in a hole. Yoenis Cespedes.
No, he was attacked by a pig.
Oh, by the way,
yeah, boy, yes.
Fell off a horse.
I don't know why these two just correlated in my mind. Marcelo Ozuna, his career is over.
You think so? I don't think so.
Oh, absolutely. You didn't see the
Trevor
video.
Bauer. Him and Trevor Bauer are kind of in the same boat.
He's done.
Yeah.
I don't know about Trevor Bauer because the court system pretty much let him go. So they can't really say that. I think a team's going to give him a chance. I just
He's
don't.
going to get suspended all of next year. He's not pitching.
All of next year? I don't know about all of next year. 50 games.
Yeah, don't forget, they don't like him. A lot of people in higher ups do not like
The
Trevor.
Dodgers teammates don't like him.
Yeah. Well, he's a hard guy to like if you don't understand him. But I always appreciated him because he has a
science. He's a science.
Right, but he's got a brain. You got to think with his brain.
Drones.
You know, he's a different kind of guy. But I thought the things that he did for injuries, at least, and arm strength, if they would have listened to him, probably would have benefited more pitchers.
He'll be managing in college or something like that because he's going to help a lot of college players get to the major leagues. He understands pitching.
He does.
So does his father. So
he understands physics incredibly well.
Science, yeah.
Yes, except with drones.
What did he do in the drones?
That's true. Yeah, when he hurt his
hand. We all know the drones thing, but that had nothing to do with the science that he knows. Okay, he's changed the game as far as science is concerned, and you saw that. I think what was it? What's that show on HBO? They did a whole thing on
sports.
Real Sports. They did a whole Real Sports on him and his father and how they scientifically changed the game of pitching, and how the lockout is starting. I expect this lockout to go for 3 months.
Really?
I go to opening day.
I'm going to opening day. They're going to miss. They're going to play 120 games this year.
I'm going to say 2 months.
2?
Yeah. I think it's going to be over faster than you think.
Knowing that Rob Manfred is running this organization, it's going to be a lot longer than you think.
It'll be back by the end.
He's a moron. That guy is an idiot.
He'll be back.
That's what baseball really needs. Baseball really needs.
You have seen it. He will be running baseball in 2 years. In 2 years, when Rob Manfred's contract is up, mark my words, Theo Epstein will be running baseball.
I hope so.
That's what's going to happen.
I'll take for making predictions for the lockout. Opening day will be Memorial Day.
I did everything that we've heard. He got offered the Mets job last year, and they were going to pay. They were going to pay him. He decided to decline it, and it wasn't the money thing because I think he was going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it had a lot to do with the baseball thing, and I think a lot of the owners do not like Rob Manfred. I think half of them don't like him, and when they vote, because that's what they do, you vote when he becomes available. He's not going to win the votes. He's not going to win the votes. Theo Epstein will be right there, and I think Theo Epstein will get the job. I think baseball, as you know, Theo Epstein's one of the most respectable guys in all of baseball. So
he ended two longest match in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, so I think he will. I think one way or another, he's going to get a job with the MLB. So
they canceled the winter meetings officially.
Yeah, well,
of course,
that's a lot. That's inevitable.
It'll be back by the end of the year.
You think baseball, dude? There's so much that needs to be discussed.
Yeah. The Yankees are not going to want this to last. Cohen's not going to want this to last. The Red Sox,
two owners.
No, but the Red Sox are not going. The big owners are going to want this done fast.
But what about the other owners? They all have to
agree. Want it done fast.
They're all going to agree because they want to set their teams in place.
But the problem isn't with the owners. The problem is with the players and the players union.
Yeah, the players union.
They're going to want this done, and they're going to want this done.
Well,
fast.
you heard what they want to do. They want to
14 team
playoffs.
14 teams, which I don't like.
The division winners pick their opponent.
Oh, that's stupid. Yeah,
that's retarded.
I forgot they had that in place.
That's terrible. Yeah. I mean, like, how is that fair? You know,
right? I'm going to pick the worst team possible.
All right, I'll take the best team possible because they're not playing very well. So I'll take them because they're cold.
Ironically, I think that's what fucked the Yankees when they came out and said, we were going to pick Boston anyway. And the Red Sox went, oh, really? Okay. Slap. Okay, goodbye.
I think it had a lot to do with being
Bye-bye, Garrett Cole.
I had a lot to do with being in Boston, too. So I
they shouldn't have lost the 3 games or whatever.
Yeah, really.
The Orioles at the end of the year.
Well, they had to win all 3 games. It's not that easy to win 3 games. You guys make it sit. Hey, you know what?
One game they had to win. They tied. You couldn't win 1 game at home?
They had to win 3 games.
They couldn't win 1 game against the Orioles.
They ended tied. They had the same record.
That's right. They had
the
to win.
Red Sox had the tiebreaker.
That's right. But the Yankees,
all you had to do was win 1 game.
That's right. They had to win all 3 games in a row. They won. They lost the middle game. They won a game, lost, and then won. So they lost. They had to win all 3 games.
You couldn't beat
easy.
the Orioles once?
Oh, so what? There was a lot of teams that couldn't beat the Orioles this year. A lot of teams. A lot of good teams. A lot of good teams.
They had 54 wins. How many teams couldn't they beat?
Go look at the teams that they beat. Go look at the good teams they beat.
So, what do you guys think of the SEC championship game?
Mark, we're not sitting on here 2 hours to talk about Alabama, so just get your Alabama shot.
I thought you wanted to at least get your shots in right now.
Well, yeah.
Georgia beats Alabama.
The offensive performance has to concern you when they play against Auburn.
Alabama gets knocked out.
They couldn't run the ball at all. They were living on a lot of tight window throws on that last drive for the most part. And the receivers too, uncharacteristically.
Tyler's going to be the backup quarterback for Alabama.
A lot of their receivers too were uncharacteristically dropping passes. Like Bryce Young,
Mechie was, and then Jameson Williams getting kicked out of the game. It was
that didn't help either. But you have to be concerned with that offense, though.
Of course I am.
Because the receiving depth is supposed to be good. The running backs are supposed to be good. They rushed for 71 yards in that game.
Yeah, no, their freshmen have not played any type of level. And their defense, you can see my cat's tail here.
I like Kennard.
And their defense has not played consistently well. They've had too many breakdowns in the secondary, and that's supposed to be the veterans on their team with Job and Battle.
Right.
Anybody in college football can throw the back shoulder pass on them every play if they wanted to and get first downs.
I was never a big fan of Joby as that.
Did you see that shot
top
by
corner?
Kennard?
No.
It's not just him that's the problem though. They've had trouble with allowing big plays, and in the Arkansas game too. Even though they still did all right as like a whole defensive unit, big plays are a concern.
Shit.
Yep.
Now there was a rumor that Pickens was supposed to be coming back, or is that not happening? Or is that not happening until the playoff? George Pickens was supposed to come back for Georgia. I was hearing something there that was actually
I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know, but I don't really think it matters. I think if if Alabama's got to play a certain way offensively. Now, Bryce Young shows that he can take matters into his own hands like he did against Arkansas, but Georgia's defense is a lot better than anything they've played.
Right.
So, but also, Georgia's going to be playing an Alabama offense where Bryce Young's probably the best player they've played against.
Yeah.
So those two things are going to be interesting. How Stetson Bennett does against their defense. Alabama's defense is good enough to shut you down. It's just that they have 2 or 3 brain farts during the game, which you're not used to seeing them do.
Well, their front seven is fine. I'm more worried with their secondary. Georgia's offensive line is also good too. And if they wear out the pass rush too much, that could be very hard because Georgia's got that great platoon of running backs.
They do, but Will Anderson is probably the best player in the SEC.
Phenomenal.
They're an unknown still at this point. I keep waiting for them for their talent to shine through, and they have these mental breakdowns that, to me, Pete Golding's gone after this year. He's got to be gone. The biggest mistake they made was not giving Charlie Strong the defensive coordinator position last year when he was on the team last year as like a volunteer assistant.
Oh, okay.
I thought he would get the job. They didn't. He wound up going to the pros at Jacksonville and Urban Meyer. And that was a huge, because Charlie Strong is one of the best defensive coordinators out there.
That's true. He'll last longer than Urban Meyer in Jacksonville.
With the job when Urban decided to leave.
I don't like Bill O'Brien.
I think
horrible.
Urban Meyer's not going anywhere. I think I think he's going to stay in Jacksonville because Marcus Freeman is about to get the job in Notre Dame. So
Urban Meyer could go to Oklahoma.
I was very surprised Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to
Do you see what he did though? What do you guys take on what Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly did to them?
Not surprised.
I don't like either one of them.
I'm not surprised because Lincoln Riley is and Jeff said it best. Lincoln Riley went to USC because he's going to a division that's all offense. That's why he left. He knew that Oklahoma going to the SEC, he had no chance.
Yeah,
none. So and Jeff's right. That's why Lincoln Riley went to USC.
They're better than the SEC.
That's why he went to
the Big
USC.
12 was all offense too. The Pac-12 has better defenses than the Big 12 does, and good luck with that.
But he says Jeff's right. He has a better chance of winning.
He will have an advantage over Oklahoma's recruiting, just because USC always gets a lot anyway, no matter how good or bad.
Southern California, of course they do.
They're gonna get that advantage too. Will the scheme end up translating though against? You're right, not great defenses, but better defenses in the Pac-12 that you'll get in the Big 12, because the Big 12 is never known for defense.
Right.
It's weird.
Because he's right though with that, because anytime they played, just look at their performances in college football playoff. Oklahoma, they got absolutely manhandled by LSU. Georgia lit them up offensively. So
Alabama was up 21-0 on them at the end of the first quarter.
I feel bad for LSU because LSU is going to have to deal with Brian Kelly's offense, which doesn't work in the big game as we've seen before. So. I mean, you're going to get a great recruit class. I mean, over there in Louisiana, you're going to get some good players.
Can he recruit well enough there?
I think he could.
LSU will give him not. I don't know if necessarily a significant edge, but still an edge enough where you get regional ones where it's going to be harder. Where Notre Dame is the national brand more, whereas LSU has also the regional brand advantage too. Where it could improve a little bit. There's going to be more competition in the.
Look at the money he got. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I know. I was
9 years, $95 million. I mean, come on.
I was surprised.
These college coaches are making ridiculous money.
I know.
I'm going to become a college coach.
All you have to do is stay undefeated for 2 months and then lose a big game. All right, you're $10 million, $95 million, 10 years. There you go.
I'll have Tyler be my offensive coordinator, Speedy be my defensive coordinator, and Mark be my special teams.
Yeah.
Nithing and run my linebackers.
Brian Kelly, what did you not do in this game? All right, we're game planning on this from now on. This is what you didn't do in this big game that you never win. Yeah, okay.
Brian Kelly.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But the coaches that have won at LSU have put a fence around that state and said, you're not going to out-recruit me in this state, because there's a lot of prize recruits that come from Louisiana.
The only reason they won the national title a couple of years ago is they took a really clear choice on going after Joe Burrows, and they got very lucky with Joe. And Joe he's turned out to be a great NFL player too. So I think they, with everything that they did, I mean, that was the only reason why they won the national championship. They just hit gold, and that's what Joe Burrows was.
You could look at the same thing with Cam Newton. Went over one 2010. It's the same.
That's right. He came from junior
Florida.
school,
Florida too.
Yes, junior school, then Florida. I mean, and Cam Newton just like exploded for Auburn, and then he was the number 1 pick. And say whatever you want about Cam Newton. He at one point for 7 years he was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league.
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he the 3rd string at Florida?
Yeah,
is there? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And he went to Texas Junior College where they found him, but he was as good as any quarterback I've seen that year. He did amazing things against South Carolina. He ran for 200 yards, threw for 300 yards. It's like anything he needed to do, he did to help them win. It's not easy to win at Auburn, and that's what people think. They're Alabama. They're not.
Like that Oregon team they beat in the championship game was good too.
Yeah, and they beat South Carolina in the SEC championship game. South Carolina team
beat Alabama that year. Yeah,
that beat Alabama that year. That had Alshon Jeffrey. That had Marcus Lattimore.
I forgot about Lattimore. He was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great running back. Connie wasn't there yet, but they had Melvin Ingram on defense. So, and they were coached by Spurrier, and they beat him 56-7.
I remember that
championship game.
I forgot about Marcus Lattimore. He was so good.
He was very good, man.
Just not a good NFL player.
He was always hurt. He never got a chance.
Yeah, it broke my heart when he had to retire because he was awesome.
There was a lot of good running backs that came out and went to the NFL. Just never.
Darren McFadden the same way.
They could never get over. Darren McFadden was the biggest bust.
No, he was good when he was healthy.
Such
he
a
was
bust, man.
He just never stayed healthy.
Oh, the Cowboys wanted to draft him so bad. I remember that.
He ended up coming. He ended up playing for us too. So
he rushed for 1,000 yards with you guys in 2015.
They loved him. He was supposed to be a top 7 pick.
Yeah, I had speaking of falling down running backs, I had Trent Richardson on my show. So it was an honor talking to him on the show. But he's
did somebody say why?
Wow.
I was like, why? I mean,
Oh,
he's a
family guy. He likes Trent Richardson.
No, we had him on the show, and then he's another example of a fallen running back.
Oh, good, dude. He was so good in college, and then when he came to the NFL, he's a top. He was at first.
He was the 3rd overall pick.
3rd overall pick for Cleveland.
Yeah. You know what he told me though? He got traded. He told me that the Colts traded him in his after 3 what's it called? He said the Colts traded him after the 3rd week to the Browns.
No, the Browns traded him to the Colts.
Browns. So he told me Browns traded him to the Colts.
Yeah, and they give up 2 first-round
drafts. They gave 1 first-round pick, but the first-round pick became Johnny Manziel. So that's the funny part. So it's Richardson for Johnny Manziel swap.
I remember when they did that, like after 2 games, him trading the number 3 overall pick and be like, "What are the Browns doing?" But it turned out
Richardson had a great rookie year too, and just never was the same after.
He was a bust. One of the biggest busts that ever come out of Alabama. Really was.
You guys talked about Arkansas. I remember, that year when Auburn won, they played Arkansas that year and they knocked out Ryan Mallett. Remember Ryan Mallett, how good he was?
Yep.
Okay. And in comes Trevor Wilson. And he almost won that game for them. And they had McFadden was on that team.
Yeah, he was the running quarterback, right?
Didn't the Cowboy running back, great DeMarco Murray, come from Arkansas too?
No, Oklahoma.
No, that was Felix Jones. Felix Jones. They had a backfield of Felix Jones, Peyton Hillis, and Darren McFadden.
Yeah, I mean, they were stacked. But that's because Petrino was talk about a lowlife.
Coca says Trent was too busy chasing tail.
You got the tail out of
we always chasing tail here. Come on.
Look at him. That's because you were on a date tonight. You were definitely chasing tail. Nice dinner, nice cookies, and nice pizza.
And now we got some Eddie Lacy jokes. Coco like said, LeJuan says Eddie liked Bluebell ice cream.
You mean Blue Bunny? Oh, God. Well, guys, Mark, thank you for joining us, bud.
Yeah, I'm sorry it was so late.
Great for you to fit us in your busy schedule there.
Yeah, right. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Serious question.
Love you, Mark.
Love you guys too. Talk to you soon.
What are we going to say?
Mark.
Yeah.
You hear me, Mark?
Yeah.
When you get on the show, do you do a roll up to get the Roll Tide going before you come on, or you just sit down and be normal about it?
No, I get my Rammer Jammer thing going before the Roll Tide.
Oh, good. Good. I'm going to send you an Alabama foot basket.
I need a foot basket right now. My feet are killing me.
Well, thanks, guys.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you.
God bless. Talk to you soon.
Mark, Kelly, and Nathan, thank you for joining us too, bud.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This is fun. And
oh, wait, hold on. I got beef with you. How'd you not mention you were a Ranger fan before?
I said that.
No, you didn't.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I forgot to say I'm a huge Rangers fan.
All right. So wait a minute. So when I'm going on about how we should not trade Terry Panarin, you just sat there and didn't say anything.
I think he was laughing.
What?
That was actually a conversation I had to have with a fellow. He says he's a Ranger fan, but somebody actually brought that up to us. I didn't say it.
I think you were laughing, Nathan, during it.
Wait, what?
Of the Beavs comments of trading Panarin.
I was laughing at it. Yeah.
I think he was laughing.
No, he said all he said is that he would trade Panarin for Barnes.
Yeah. Why would he? Why would he? No, we're not trading Panarin.
Rangers lost opening or the second night. Right, we said we were 6 periods into the season. He called the show whining and crying, and that we should trade Panarin because he's not worth the contract.
No, we're not trading Panarin. We're not trading Panarin.
I know that. Don't tell me that. Talk to the uneducated masses. Don't talk to me.
Okay.
We got some putts walking around saying we should trade our best player. I don't understand why.
Oh God!
Thank you, bud.
Yeah, but thank you.
We'll get you on again, man.
Yeah, this is fun. And did you guys see my in-person interview with Leonard Marshall?
I did.
Oh, Leonard Marshall, that's a good one to get. Nice.
Yeah, we did I did an in-person interview. He lives in our neighborhood.
Yeah,
so.
I saw that. Yeah, it was very, very cool. And he was on WPIX.
Yeah, you saw that, right? Yeah,
of course I saw it. I know, and I know Justin that interviewed him. So I know one of the guys from WPIX is a good friend of mine. So. So yes.
Yeah, but thank you guys again. This has been fun. Keep up the great work. You guys do an awesome job. And
thank you.
Loudmouths is one of the best in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Nathan.
Thank you. I don't do anything. I just sit here.
And then you guys have to come on our show too. Again.
Absolutely, whenever you want us, we'd love to come on.
Just don't be like Trey Larkin, who sends me a link and then all of a sudden it don't work. You don't want me on the show. Wow, it's 2 hours later.
Trey never shows up to the show. Sometimes he disappears. He says, "Oh, I'm coming on the show."
I love the wise guys, but I'm never on there. I can actually add the wise to the wise guys.
Why do you think they call them? They're the wise asses.
See you guys.
Nathan, thanks, man. NR Hour, if you haven't seen this, Nathan's podcast, very, very cool. He interviews a lot of big guys.
The 80s Giants pass rusher.
You don't know end. The defensive end from the 80s, from the
Super Bowl 21 and 25.
Lawrence Taylor, New York Giants.
He was the starting right end or left end defensive end somewhere.
Nice guy too, by the way.
I'm sure he's a very.
Anyways, great show, Speedy. What do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have one guest at the moment. Pro Football Focus Senior Data Collection Analyst Josh Liskowitz.
Will
be on
like
tomorrow.
That.
That's the only one we know for sure. We might get a second. We'll see. I'm waiting on some other guys to respond.
Liskowitz. Okay.
He sounds more Jewish than
Liverwish. Well,
wait, hold on.
Josh Liverwish.
What was the guest name today? Goldstein.
Craig Goldstein,
he sounds more Jewish than
Garret
Goldstein,
Price.
Liverwish.
By
the way, I'd like to thank Baseball Prospectus Editor-in-Chief Craig Goldstein for joining us today. He was great. Also, I'd like to thank Fantasy Pros and Dynasty Nerds fantasy football writer Garret Price again for joining us. It was great interviews. They were great. I really appreciate it. We'll get them on again, I'm sure, as we move forward. By the way, great show. A lot of yelling, screaming, craziness, as always. That's what makes the show.
Thank you, Grand Wizard, for your unlimited knowledge. Thank you for blessing us.
Unlimited knowledge. Okay. I don't know what unlimited knowledge you have. But anyways, that's it, guys. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Stay tuned. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance